Number 10. Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan is known for a lot of things in this world, okay? Her public meltdown, her ability to get estranged parents back together, and of course, her penchant for the partying lifestyle. As you can imagine, it's not easy being someone that works at one of these events, especially considering that they work for a woman that would regularly wake up late in the day and hung over a railing. Only she wasn't on a railing. Unfortunately, many people know that dealing with someone who wakes up late in the day after a long night of no-no juice-induced good times is a difficult person to deal with. Recently, some of Lohan's staff members have confided that she often wakes up at noon at the earliest. Naturally, she's always in a terrible mood and is extremely short with her staff. They claim that Lindsay would regularly take her frustrations out on her staff members simply because they were there and they were easy targets. They said that it should be a law if you deal with someone like Lindsay that an automatic bonus should be thrust into your bank account. Imagine if the lead of Herbie Fully Loaded started yelling at you at 12 in the afternoon. Beep beep, I quit. Number 9. Rihanna. Is it really a shock to learn that Rihanna does not talk to the hired help? Ignoring somebody is one of the meanest things that you can do to a person, making them feel like they do not exist or are not on the same level as you, and they do not deserve to be acknowledged. Most celebrities know not to do this, but others seem to only have a negative setting in their soul. Over the years, it's been said that pop singing sensation Rihanna doesn't even look or speak to her staff. An anonymous source revealed that Rihanna literally refers to the staff as hired help. She also falls asleep when she is getting her makeup done, which must be so great for everybody in the room. Rihanna just snoring in a chair and someone running around being like, it's okay, she's just warming her voice up, guys, it's fine. Rihanna is also known for being pretty rude to her fans as well. One lady won backstage passes for herself and her family, and when they went back to do the meet and greet portion of their tickets, Rihanna didn't even face them and actually asked one of her assistants to come and sign something for them, sitting in her makeup chair like a Disney villain shooing people away. Number 8. George Clooney. George Clooney is the epitome of class, okay? Just watch his Nespresso commercial with Danny DeVito. These two were meant to be together. He is known to be very charming, especially when meeting fans or appearing at red carpet events. But it turns out that George Clooney is not exactly the easiest man to work for. Apparently, George is a little bit stingy and is extremely paranoid that people will take advantage of him, meaning that he is very untrusting of his staff. According to disgraced former employees who left in shame, Clooney's staff are not allowed to go anywhere near the no-no juice chamber, or cabinet as most people call it. George is reportedly nervous that someone will try to steal a sip of some of his more expensive options. The staff allege that George would mark his bottles after each use so that he could actually see where the liquid was the last time that he had himself a glass. After each and every use, this man was just whipping out a marker and just notching away and just remarking and remarking. Hey, paranoia is one thing, but that is next level, okay? Just get a little bottle lock or something more complicated. I feel like there are some easy ways to get around that if you really dedicated your time to it. I'm not gonna do that, but someone might. Number 7, Beyonce. Beyonce has 3 simple rules if you work for her on tour. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. And in other words, don't look at Beyonce, don't talk to Beyonce, don't even listen to Beyonce. Maybe not that last one, but you get my point. Beyonce is a massive star now, but even 10 years back, she was considered to be a major diva that felt that she was above everybody else. While she was on tour in 2013, all local staff were advised not to look or speak or approach Beyonce. They were explicitly told that if she was walking down a hall towards them, to find an unlocked room and get in there as soon as possible, out of sight, out of mind. On top of that, everything backstage had to be draped in linen, which then had to be smoothed out after she would walk on it. Now, if that's how rude she was in 2013, imagine what she must be like now. She probably has someone fanning her in a chair between sets, while another person feeds her grapes and does her taxes. Luxury. That is luxury. Number 6, Zooey Deschanel. New girl Zooey Deschanel is known in Hollywood as a lovable, dorky little lady. She's so pure and innocent, and she dated Jim Carrey and Yes Man for some reason. Such a good movie, I'm not gonna bash on it. But it's not just Hollywood that knows Zooey as a lovable dork, her fans do too. There is no way that she would have a mean bone in her body, right? Well, it turns out that Deschanel is actually very rude and reportedly very demanding. While working on the set of the sitcom New Girl, several former staff members members claimed that Zoe was constantly making up her own rules on the set and on the show. Being the main character allowed her to voice her ideas, and more often than not, the showrunners would just make it work. One of those rules that she made up was that at the end of each episode, that it had to be her and another character. She's gotta be the last face you see before watching Big Bang Theory again. It's a great show, and if you hate it, you're just trying to be cool. Overall, she is not even close to the worst person on this list, but we gotta include her because she did make a PA quit out of frustration. But they're not considered people, so who cares? I was a PA, I'm allowed to make that joke. Number 5, Kate Gosselin. Kate, who you may know from her reality show Kate Plus 8, is reportedly very mean to the people she employs. In fact, they would go so far as to say that she is a terrible boss. Oh, I'm sorry for my language. A former nanny who worked for Gosselin revealed that Kate made her babysitter's life a living nightmare. Gosselin got famous for being a mother of 8. My mom comes from a family of 9, but you don't see a TV show for the Newfoundlanders. Now that would be good TV. Despite Kate coming from such a large family and having to take care of so many kids at once, she writes guidelines for the people that work for her. According to several of her former employees, most of Gosselin's nannies quit almost immediately after being hired. Some of the demands that Kate had included in the rule books were things like washing her expensive cutlery by hand and never placing them on the kitchen table. You had to just... The rulebook also said that the staff would be meant to walk lightly, something that was to be taught to the kids as well. Now, I couldn't figure out what the term walk lightly means, but I'm imagining it means teaching the kids to walk like cat burglars from like a 60s cartoon, but that feels wrong for some reason. Number 4, Victoria Beckham. Victoria is talented in many ways, mainly known for being Posh Spice from the Spice Girls. Despite her larger-than-life persona on stage, offstage she is much more serious and straightforward. Her work ethic is very simple. Work and work hard. This method is taught to each and every one of her staff members. A former nanny revealed that Victoria was actually quite rude when it came to being a boss, going on to say that she expected all of her nannies to respond to the name Joe, even if their name wasn't Joe. The logic that some are suggesting is that maybe the Beckhams just didn't want their kids to be confused by the multiple nannies and names. They just needed to stick to one to refer to their staff, right? But at the same time, forcing your nannies to respond to a name that's not remotely similar to their own is very rude and annoying. Number 3, Naomi Campbell. Naomi is no stranger to a fiery tantrum or two. According to many people close to her, she has a short temper and some serious anger issues, so as you can imagine, being on her staff is nothing to celebrate about. Her history of mistreating staff is long and legendary. There were so many choices I could have put in this list. In 2000, Campbell was sued by her assistant Georgina Galanis. Apparently, Campbell whacked Georgina with a telephone in a hotel room and then told her she was going to throw her out of a moving car. She pleaded guilty to the charges, admitting that she lashed out in a fit of rage. In 2004, she supposedly headbutted an assistant, bit her lip, and yanked her to the floor, screaming, "F you, you worthless snitch!" Except she didn't say snitch. This woman cannot keep her hands to herself. She transforms into a UFC fighter every time she gets upset. In 2006, Campbell allegedly went after her housekeeper with a cell phone and just flung it right at her. In the past couple of years, more and more stories of former employees have been released, with the general consensus being that this lady is a menace and needs to take a chill pill. Number 2, Madonna. Madonna's voice is known around the world, but so is the fact that she can be a little bit mean from time to time. Not only have there been eyewitness accounts of her being rude to fans, but she's also a bit stingy when it comes to her staff. A few years back, an anonymous source revealed that when one of Madonna's dancers broke her arm during practice, that instead of being concerned and helping, Madonna had a full-blown meltdown, berating the dancer for being so bad at their job. There were also allegations that she said there shall be no fat country singers in her presence. Only she didn't say re-singers. Another source backed these stories up and added that Madonna does not pay very well, but she knows that she can pay people less to work for her for grueling hours because, hey, she's Madonna. There are probably some people out there who would work for a turkey sandwich just to be someone's assistant. White bread with lettuce, please. The source agreed that if there is one common theme with Madonna and her staff, it is that her ego overshadows them and they are supposed to feel lucky to be in her presence. Neither of the sources specified when they quit, but considering the stories, it sounded like they were with Madonna for quite quite some time. And at number 1, Courtney Love. Singer, actor, and wage thief Courtney Love has a bad habit of not paying her employees. According to some former assistants, she promises big things and fails to deliver on them constantly. In 2010, Love hired Jessica Labrie as her assistant. Courtney allegedly promised her lots of cool things, including bonuses, promotions, a scholarship to Yale, a job on the set of Nirvana's biopic, heck, even a job at Courtney's very own management company. Well, sign me up, man. That's a no-brainer. Only, if something sounds too good to be true, it almost always is. Of course, Jessica agreed to work for Courtney, but Love failed to deliver on any of her promises. There was no job on the Nirvana set, there was no scholarship to Yale, sometimes there wasn't even a paycheck. Labrie eventually sued Courtney for lost wages. Sure, she was mad that she didn't get any of the cool things that she was promised, but her main issue was the $2,000 that she was not paid. During the court proceedings, Jessica revealed that while working for Courtney, she was asked to hire a computer hacker to fake legal correspondence. What shady things did she want to cover up? Well, I guess we'll find out in another video. Number 10. Lizzo. It was revealed a little while back that a lawsuit has been filed against the famous pop singer Lizzo, accusing her of creating a toxic work environment and mistreating her background dancers. The accusations range from fat-shaming her crew to forcing them to eat strange fruit from strange places. One of the dancers, Crystal Davies, who is part of the lawsuit, was fired for secretly recording a meeting between herself and Lizzo. The meeting was about the dancer's performance on stage recently and her apparent dislike of the weight that she'd been gaining, claiming that she wasn't committing to her role. According to the plaintiffs, Lizzo made them work ridiculous hours, including up to 12-hour rehearsal days. One of the dancers recounted an experience of having to use the washroom and was forced to do it in her pants while rehearsing so she didn't lose any time. Like, hey Lizzo, if someone asks to use the bathroom, let him go. It took longer for them to get the poor woman a change of clothes than it would have to let her take a fight. When the news broke, the world collectively turned on Lizzo and believed every single word that these women are saying, and so far it seems like that's valid. While Lizzo continues to deny the allegations, her career just gets worse and worse. Several of her live stage shows have been canceled, her music's been pulled from radio stations, and there's an investigation taking place, which is never a good thing. Number 9. Christian Bale. Rumors that the former Batman actor is mean to his co-stars and crew have run rampant for years, ever since his infamous voice recording captured on the set of Terminator Judgment Day. For those who don't know, he shouted at a guy for being in his line of sight during a take. Real professional. However, a former publicist of Christian's named Harrison Chung shared a ton of behind-the-scenes stories, including the fact that Christian was in fact a really mean person, to the point where he literally made little kids cry when they would approach him as fans. Instead of appreciating his reach and enjoying his time with the fans, he reportedly responded to them with anger and lectures about personal space. Chung claimed that working for Christian was a nightmare, so much so that he had to take years of therapy. There have been a few stories regarding Christian and his anger over the years, but making kids cry and forcing the person making him look good to take therapy just means that there's something wrong with this guy. Number 8. Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga is known for a lot of things. A Star is Born, her music career, but for an ex-assistant named Jennifer O'Neill, Lady Gaga is just simply known as evil. O'Neill filed a lawsuit against her former boss in 2013 for $400 grand, the money that she claimed she was owed for her time working as Gaga's assistant. Clapping back against the claims, Gaga got heated. Say that 10 times fast. She counterclaimed that she was forced to do most of the assistant's work herself, complaining that she had to carry her own bags to her room all by herself like a normal person. O'Neill worked with Gaga for 13 months on a $75,000 salary and accompanied her on her Monster Ball World Tour. In trying to justify her actions as a boss, she admitted to partying late at night, sleeping in all day, and literally screaming in the streets. During the court hearing for the case, she also launched into an F-word fueled tirade, swearing over and over again at Jennifer. Gaga was basically blasting this woman with allegations and just kind of denying everything that she was saying. Gaga claimed that Jennifer was always made to be an equal on tour, where Jennifer claims to have been overwhelmed with her workload. Instead of paying O'Neill the damages, Gaga claimed that she was going to spread the wealth to the people that currently worked for her, aka the ones who really deserve it. Eventually they were able to settle the situation outside of court, but the exact dollar exchange is unknown. Number 7. Bill Murray. Bill has always been outed as a menace on set. He yelled at Lucy Liu on the set of Charlie's Angels, but that's not even close to when it started. He got fired from that set, but that's part of another video. Another altercation came off camera on a completely different film. In 1991, Bill was filming What About Bob, a comedy flick of course, but the set was anything but. He reportedly got into an argument with a producer on the film named Laura Ziskin that resulted in him literally throwing her in a lake. Now at the time she called the incident playful, but the rest of the production time was also filled with similar outbursts. Bill would regularly snap on set especially, and directed a lot of his attention at Laura. She recounted a time when Bill said that he was going to throw her across the parking lot before breaking her sunglasses and throwing them across the parking lot. But it wasn't just Laura that was scolded on set. One day when Bill asked her for a day off and she said no, he flipped in front of the entire crew. He ripped off her glasses and threw them on the ground. Bill's co-star Richard Dreyfuss confronted him about his behavior, and Bill responded by launching an ashtray at him like he was Captain America or something. Everyone on set walked off and flew home to Los Angeles. The film only resumed production when Disney agreed to hire a bodyguard to physically keep these two separate in between takes. Number 6. Kylie Jenner. Kylie Jenner is the youngest of the Kardashian clan and is extremely successful for her age. In 2019, she made the cover of Forbes magazine as the youngest self-made billionaire ever, following the successful partnership between her cosmetic brand and Ulta, a beauty salon company, which would allow the brand previously only available online and in random pop-ups to actually be on shelves in Ulta's 1,000 stores, which is unfortunate considering where those products actually come from. A lot of employees at the factories that mixed and packaged her makeup and beauty products reported that they were never given proper safety equipment, and you kinda need that to do that job. They were only given like hair nets, lab coats, safety goggles, which meant that their hands and faces were completely exposed. Workers would regularly report migraines, mild chemical burns on their hands, and if that isn't bad enough, they were also forced to act as human test subjects for Kylie's new products. Needless to say, a lot of people quit their jobs very quickly. Kylie was very proud of her company not testing products on animals, but can we all agree that using people is just way worse? Number 5. Mariah Carey. Mariah may get stuck in your head between the months of November and January, but in 2019, all Maria Burgess wanted for Christmas was her wages. Maria sued Mariah, alleging that she worked for Mariah between 2017 and 2018, but did not receive any pay and had to deal with tremendous stress. In the lawsuit, she alleged that Carey would not allow her to take breaks, and she did not specify the hours she had to work, but the lawsuit implied that she basically worked around the clock 24/7. She claims that she was finally forced to leave Mariah after she complained about her working environment, to which Mariah responded with, "I don't care." The suit was apparently settled outside of court, and knowing Mariah Carey, she probably just forked over the cash, no questions asked. She's Mariah Carey. Number 4. Miley Cyrus. Ever since her Disney days, Miley Cyrus has slowly been descending into this weird space between a sweet person and a terrible person. Mostly terrible. While she is known to be a little bit cold towards her fans, her staff has had it even worse. An anonymous source revealed to Radar Online that Miley had 2 dogs who were not house trained. Apparently, Miley just never bothered to train them herself, so every time they would relieve themselves inside, she would just yell at her staff for not picking it up immediately. Not only had she made her own employees cry and quit, but apparently this was something that she did to a ton of employees around the world, reportedly causing mayhem in a New York City hotel after inviting several of her friends over for a good time. According to the hotel staff, she acted like a toddler when they asked her to chill out, literally telling them that they should be grateful that she was even there. Number 3. Kourtney Kardashian. While Kim Kardashian may not be the best boss in the world, Kourtney Kardashian is known as the absolute worst boss of all time. According to former nannies, Kourtney was by far the absolute worst Kardashian to work for. Not only is she a neat freak, needing every single thing to be exactly where it should be, but she is also known for being surprisingly cheap, even once calling a grocery store while she was shopping to compare the price of a chicken breast. If anyone needs that extra 99 cents, it's her. But this isn't the worst thing that she's done. At one time, Kourtney's daughter had bitten the nanny so hard that she had to quit, but instead of letting it go and taking responsibility for not teaching her daughter how to act properly, she berated the nanny, telling her that she should have said something to her daughter in the moment. Because yes, blame the woman that you're paying to raise your kids instead of the kid itself. That makes so much sense. Number 2, Kim Kardashian. How can I do this list without talking about Kim, right? Kim Kardashian is arguably the most famous of her Kardashian sisters, and it would seem she's also the busiest. For example, she has 4 kids, skincare line, her Skims brand, she's attending law school, co-founded an equity team, and she recently even hopped on the podcast train, in addition to filming her new reality TV show on Hulu. Yeah, you may be asking yourself, how does one woman do all that by herself? Well, because she pays people to do stuff for her, of course. She has multiple assistants and nannies to help her stay above the overwhelming workload, but has been known to treat them as lesser than her. For example, on several occasions, Kim and her daughter North would go to lunch accompanied by the nanny, but Kim made her not only sit at a separate table away from them at the restaurant, but she's also known to make the nannies walk like 10 feet away from her at all times, unless she has multiple people with her at once, and then she likes to make them like a walking V formation because it looks cool. If they walk near her or attempt to like walk side by side, she blows up on them behind closed doors. Needless to say, she's had many nannies over the years and's probably made them all cry at least once in a closet. Number 1, Ellen. Ellen DeGeneres had one of the most successful daytime talk shows right up until 2020. Her show became overwhelmed with accusations of a toxic work environment from former employees. They were claiming that Ellen's happy exterior was nothing more than this facade she was putting in place to keep her audience happy. Fans began questioning awkward moments on her show, and eventually the cracks in her appearance grew bigger and bigger. And there was just way too much information being leaked for any of this to be fake, so Ellen was eventually forced to cancel her show and subsequently herself. She denied every single accusation until the day she was done, but here we are, Ellen free in 2023.
Coming in at number 10 is Gordon Ramsay. Now, obviously, this doesn't really come as a surprise to anyone, but also in the world of cooking, I don't actually think that Gordon Ramsay is the worst chef out there when it comes to treating his employees like a bunch of schmucks. I don't really need to give examples. If you go and watch almost any of his shows, he has got a no BS policy, and he will call out employees, clients, or hell, kitchen contestants aggressively for their shortcomings and idiocracy. But on the flip side of that, Gordon does reward hard work, stands up to aggressive customers, can be genuinely very nice, and if you've watched any of the kids' cooking shows he works on, you see that he is actually genuinely nice to children. Anytime we have seen Gordon Ramsay lose himself on somebody, it's always been someone that is at a high enough level in their career to know better, or they're at a high enough level that they've dealt with angrier French chefs, like the one who initiated Gordon into his career path in the first place. Number 9. Kendall Jenner. Once upon a time, a TikTok documented story was told by a disgruntled waitress that took place between Kendall Jenner and said server at Mercer Kitchen one night when Jenner asked for a cocktail and was denied her request. It's worth noting that she was underage at the time, so being denied is how it goes. But being told no is just not something that we can handle, is it? No, it's not. So she stormed out of the restaurant without paying her bill. Does that count as theft? I don't know. What's that actual charge? What's the charge for doing that? Tell me down below. Whatever it is, Kendall won't be worrying about the law because she did pay eventually. The server just had to chase her onto the street and request the money, which is when Jenner reportedly threw some cash in the server's face and carried on her merry way, bringing joy and smiles to the world. End of story. You're welcome. Number 8. Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan is known for her love of parties. Or rather, I think she's known for those parties not going particularly smoothly and she winds up somewhere she doesn't want to be. Sure, Lohan is making a lot of effort to recover, and I think she's had her fair share of shame from the rest of us. But it doesn't really help when you learn that when the party has worn out, its welcome, it leaves us with a hungover Lohan, and that girl is mean. Recently, some of Lohan's staff members have confided that she often wakes up at noon at the earliest, which, hey, I think all of us would do that if we had the chance. But naturally, Lohan is always in a terrible mood due to the hangover she has, and often takes out her crabbiness on her employees. Number 7. Rihanna. I don't wish for this to be true, but if it's on the internet, it must be true. That's how that goes, right? Honestly, we all know that Rihanna has some attitude and doesn't really put up with idiots, but we also know that she is incredibly fun and funny and has been just the best at times. Unfortunately, there's always some bad with the good. One of Rihanna's alleged staff members has come forward to vouch for her apparent sassy side. She stated that Rihanna has been an absolute nightmare to work for a long time. She said that Riri makes all kinds of ridiculous demands, is always under the influence of one substance or another, and has a total disregard for basic manners. Apparently, she doesn't even bother speaking to her staff. An anonymous source said that Rihanna doesn't talk to any of the, as they put it, hired help. Apparently, Rihanna also falls asleep when she is getting her makeup done, but that one I want to hope is just because of her massive busy schedule. Coming in at number 6 today is Beyonce. This one is almost as hurtful, if not more hurtful, than finding out Rihanna can be a little crabby sometimes. Beyonce, the queen bee, apparently can be a bit of a diva. Now I'm gonna pause here to say, it's Beyonce. Of course she's a diva. While I'm sure most of us imagine her as a graceful angel blessing us all with her presence, yeah. Well, a source revealed that about 10 years ago, while she was on a tour, all the local staff were instructed by Beyonce's people to not look at her, speak to her, or approach her. The staff were actually told before the show that if Beyonce was coming down the hall, you were to find an unlocked room and immediately go into it out of her presence. Which is just kind of hilarious, but also what the hell? But that ain't the end. Everything backstage had also had to be draped in linen, which then had to be smoothed out after she walked on it. And that part feels made up, but for some reason, I also believe it. Number 5, Tiger Woods. We all know that the moral standpoint of our friend Tiger Woods here is a little wavering, you know? Cheating on his wife aside, the guy is also apparently just not the nicest. Hank Haney, Tiger's former coach, with whom he had a pretty big falling out, gave out a few details about Woods' personality and etiquette around others. The angry former coach is obviously not on the greatest terms with the golfer, but he also has stated that Woods was a total jerk. He would force everyone he was dining with to leave the restaurant when he felt like it, whether they were ready or not, whether they were done eating or not. Haney also said that Woods had a reputation for tipping notoriously small amounts after eating out, and sometimes he wouldn't even tip at all. If you have Tiger Woods money and you do not tip, do not talk to me. Then again, you probably wouldn't be talking to me if you had that kind of money anyways, but grr, Tiger Woods, bad. Number 4, Lea Michele. Lea Michele was the closest thing to a lead on Glee, and she has become pretty well known recently for being an absolute nightmare to work with, as well as being outed as an itty bitty smidge bit racist by her co-stars and some crew of the show where she made some people's lives apparently living hell. In a statement from one of her co-stars, Heather Morris, she wrote, quote, "Let me be very clear, hate is a disease in America that we are trying to cure, so I would never wish for hate to be spread on anyone else." With that being said, was she unpleasant to work with? Very much so. For Lea to treat others with the disrespect that she did for as long as she did, I believe she should be called out. So, we know she's made set life pretty hellish, but that extends to the service industry as well. It's been alleged that Michelle verbally accosted a waiter once by chastising him and telling him he had no idea what he was talking about. Now first of all, anyone who says that at a restaurant to a waiter is probably the one who doesn't know what they're talking about. But there we go. Michelle reportedly made fun of him when he tried to explain the ingredients in the dish, and then complained about him to more than one manager. More than that though, Michelle was actually dining with her family and reportedly sent her father to knock on the kitchen window to see when the food was coming. Which is just so embarrassing. I couldn't do that. Nah. Number 3, J-Lo. Jennifer Lopez has been known, other than her marriages, for being relatively hard to work with. Among other incidents, J-Lo has been accused of getting a hotel maid fired for asking for her autograph. She's been rude to a flight attendant and put loads of pressure on her personal assistant, who was expected to do anything she needed you to do at the minute, whether that was cooking, cleaning, or scheduling. Which sounds like an assistant's job, but meh. Jenny has an infamous list of requirements for her staff as well. Back in 2012, it was suggested that the singer banned the people working on her new San Fernando Valley, California home from talking to or making eye contact with her. Heather Morris, who we talked about for Lea Michele, also used to be a backup dancer for J-Lo and claimed that after 8 hours of hoofing for a spot on the tour, Lopez asked all the dancers to raise their hands if they were Virgos, and then sent all those Virgos back home. Which is mean to Virgos. I'm a Virgo, that's rude. Leaked documents also reveal that Lopez's spaces, like hotels and all that jazz, must be painted entirely white with white linens, drapes, furniture, and even candles. Which is what? And also lastly, Jenny from the block apparently makes her assistant talk to waitstaff and airline employees instead of just talking to them directly. Jenny was from the block, but she's not anymore. Coming in at number 2 today is Usher. Before Usher was 21, he reportedly tried to use his celebrity status to force a bartender to sell to him, which was indeed refused. Now, we can try and blame that on a famous, rich, young person trying to flaunt his newly acquired fame. That is somewhat excusable, not really, but somewhat. But then again, it's also been stated that he has returned to the exact same establishment years later, and this time he left behind his autograph instead of a tip. And that makes me want to cry to the heavens and ask who gave this man the audacity. On top of that, several people on Reddit have claimed that Usher is just a rude customer. In a thread dedicated to exposing servers' experiences with celebrities, one Reddit user claimed that the R&B star refused to order for himself or speak to staff directly. The user also claimed that Usher didn't tip them, not even an autograph this time. Wow, crazy. And finally, in at number 1, it's Naomi Campbell. The legendary model Naomi Campbell changed the fashion industry and is still one of the most important supermodels ever. If you think that means she must be nice, then let me introduce you to the way the world works. Naomi has been so bad that it's led to actual legal action, multiple times. As some examples, in 2000, Campbell was sued by her assistant Georgina Galanis, as apparently the model blunt forced Galanis with a telephone in a motel room and then threatened to push her out of a moving car. That's pretty bad on its own. But then again, in 2004, Campbell supposedly introduced her personal assistant, Ami Castaldo, to her forehead with force, and then bit her lip and yanked her to the floor while screaming, words I'm not allowed to say online. And then in 2006, Campbell allegedly pulled another blunt force on her housekeeper this time, Anna Scalavino, with a mobile phone. That same year, Campbell is said to have open palmed her assistant, Amanda Brack, and struck her on the head again with a mobile phone. So basically, if you ever see Naomi Campbell with a phone, or a walkie-talkie, or a BlackBerry, or like, I don't know, a telegram, you gotta be on guard because she's coming for you. Like she attacks with that stuff. All jokes aside though, between 1998 and 2010, 8 employees have accused the supermodel of getting physical with them, and I don't think we should just let that off lightly at all. Not cool. Kicking off the list at number 10 is Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle is more than a little divisive, and she has been for a hot minute. Ever since her and Prince Harry became a thing, people love to dish out how she's apparently incredibly mean to those who work under her. Interestingly though, it's usually those who don't like her that seem to bring these issues forward, but nonetheless, there have been multiple reports of Meghan treating royal staffers less than appropriately. According to one story, the former actor was tasting food for her wedding and she had reportedly requested a quote, macrobiotic alliterative option. Now, I don't even know what those words mean, but apparently it means no eggs, because she got very upset when she thought there was egg in the dish, and well, there wasn't. According to Vanity Fair's royal reporter, Katie Nichol, quote, she said, no, I can taste it. I can taste there's an egg in this dish. And I think there was a bit of an upset when suddenly the Queen walked in and she just quietly took Meghan to the side and said, Meghan, in this family, we don't speak to people like that. There were also a series of leaked emails written by Jason Nauf, a former palace communications secretary, that were sent to Prince William's private secretary with the names of 2 bullied staffers subbed for X and Y. In the email, Nauf wrote, The Duchess seems intent on always having someone in her sights. She is bullying Y and seeking to undermine her confidence. We have had report after report from people who have witnessed unacceptable behavior towards Y. Number 9. Anna Wintour. You ever seen The Devil Wears Prada? If you haven't, well, be better and go watch it. The main villain of the film and the book it's based on is the assistant protagonist boss, Miranda Priestley, the powerful New York City-based editor-in-chief of the fictional fashion magazine Runway, who of course is fictional. But the author of the book, Lauren Weisberger, worked as a junior assistant for Anna Wintour, a New York City-based editor-in-chief of Vogue magazine since 1988, and that is not fictional. What does that tell us? Lauren has since said that the list of demands made by the editor in the novel is made up of both fact and fiction, with the factual parts being inspired by what she endured early in her career under Wintour. There is a whole book semi-based on the way that this woman would treat her assistants and how it completely changes a person for the worst. So that's all you need to know, really. Number 8. Katie Couric. Back in 2021, journalist and presenter Katie Couric published a memoir called Going There, which was supposed to be all fun and gossipy, but it was decidedly not that. She described in the book how she froze out female colleagues at NBC to protect her, quote, turf at the top, and how she loved getting under rival female colleagues' skin. According to a TV industry insider, Couric contributed to the infamous toxicity at NBC and was part of a culture that wasn't supportive of women. In her book, she talks down on women from Martha Stewart to Diane Sawyer and Deborah Norville, and it's all for the ambition they show, which is pretty similar to Katie's own ambition. Those who have worked for Couric say that her memoir is par for the course with the celeb. According to an anonymous senior news producer, quote, she gives fresh meaning to that old saying, there's a special place in hell for women who don't help other women. Another female co-worker whose feelings she hurt is Ashley Banfield, who staffers said was humiliated by Couric at the 2000 Olympics and treated like a child. Couric even admits in her book that she gave Banfield the cold shoulder because helping her would have been, quote, self-sabotage. There's also the fact that she kind of excused the actions of Matt Lauer, but that's a whole separate thing all of its own. Number 7. Naomi Campbell. The legendary model Naomi Campbell changed the fashion industry and is still one of the most important supermodels ever. If you think that means she must be nice, then let me introduce you to the way the world works. Naomi has been so bad that it's led to actual legal action, multiple times. As some examples, in 2000, Campbell was sued by her assistant Georgina Galanis as apparently the model blunt-forced Galanis with a telephone in a hotel room and then threatened to push her out of a moving car. In 2004, Campbell supposedly introduced her personal assistant, Amy Castellado, to her forehead with force and then bit her lip and yanked her to the floor while screaming, "You effing worthless bee." I can't actually say the words, but I think you can infer what I'm trying to say here. And then in 2006, Campbell allegedly pulled another blunt force on her housekeeper, Anna Scolavino, with a mobile phone. That same year, Campbell is said to have open-palmed her personal assistant, Amanda Brack, and struck her on the head, again with a mobile phone. So, what I'm saying is that 1, she is literally physical with people, and 2, her choice of tool for these interactions seems to always be some form of communication device. So, if you ever see Naomi Campbell with a phone or like a walkie-talkie or something, just be on guard, okay? Because she's vicious with that. She's vicious with it, that's all I'm saying. All jokes aside though, between 1998 and 2010, 8 employees have accused the supermodel of getting physical with them, and I don't think we should just let that off lightly. Number 6. Victoria Beckham. If you thought that the Spice Girl, who went by Posh Spice, wasn't going to be at least a little problematic with her staff, well, I don't know, I guess you were wrong, huh? Look at that. A former nanny of fashion designer and former Spice Girl Victoria Beckham has revealed that Victoria expects all the nannies of her household to answer to the name Joe, even if their name is not Joe. So, if you're working with Naomi Campbell, you get dinged up by the wonders of modern communication, but if you're working for Victoria Beckham and her kids, your individual identity is at stake. So pick your poison, I guess. Remind me to never work for a celebrity, ever. Apparently, this is because the very first nanny of Beckham's daughter Harper was named Joe, and I suppose this rule is to not confuse the kid? But you're telling me that your kid can't understand the basic principles of jobs and employee turnover? I don't know. Seems a little suspicious. Number 5, Madonna. She may be one of the most influential artists in pop music, but Madonna has a rep. I think someone somewhere probably knew she would be on a list like this, and maybe it was you. Ooh. Madonna has a huge team of people under her, and while in one instance you would have her backup dancers willing to get arrested for dancing provocatively in her shows in Toronto, you'd have way more instances of them just not being paid or not being paid in full, which has led her employees to sue her multiple times. She has fired or lost staff for taking time off, being upset about the crazy long hours they're expected to work, the fact that they don't get enough breaks, and for being required to be on call 24/7. On top of that, she's been sued multiple times for acting inappropriately with her staff, and a couple of years ago, an anonymous source revealed that when one of Madonna's dancers broke her arm during practice, instead of being concerned, Madonna threw a fit. Number 4, Lady Gaga. I know the Lady Gaga fans are many, and I know they are powerful, but alas, if your idol is kind of the worst sometimes, I am honor bound to talk about it. Sorry. Gaga's former assistant Jennifer O'Neill says that Lady Gaga has a, quote, big head, and that her demands became bigger and bigger once she started to get bigger. That same assistant was the one who eventually sued the artist for $400,000 in unpaid overtime, which was settled out of court. Not only did she not get paid what she fairly earned, but the assistant had discussed some of the expectations of the job once Gaga had gotten big. She had to handle around 20 bags of luggage at the same time, handle all the singer's communications, and she was on call at every moment of the day. According to O'Neill, she was by her side virtually 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That includes sleeping in the same bed with her because she did not sleep alone. And Jennifer wasn't even given breaks for food or sleep, so imagine how that worked out. Not very well. Number 3, James Corden. From what I know, Late Late Show host James Corden being exposed as kinda just the worst is a more recent revelation. There have been a few different stories that I've heard of, including a little back and forth with Sir Patrick Stewart at an awards show a few years back, which you can watch on YouTube, and I suggest you do because it's kind of really awkward and really funny, but the story I hear the most involves James being a menace to the service industry. According to Balthazar owner Keith McNally, who took to Instagram on October 17th, 2022 to publicly ban James Corden from the New York City restaurant, James Corden is, quote, a talented comic but a tiny cretin of a man. Which is just hilarious. In his Instagram post, he detailed multiple incidents in which James was rude, dismissive, or nasty to the restaurant staff, calling the late night host the worst he'd had in 25 years of hospitality service. That's coming from a guy who runs a New York restaurant, so you know he's seen some things. But even though McNally forgave Corden and lifted his ban, it got people talking. Like former Spice Girl Mel B, who dubbed James Corden the biggest D-head in Hollywood while on Britain's The Big Narsty Show on December 2nd, 2022. According to her, James feels people are beneath him. She said, quote, whether it be production, camera guys, sound lighting, we all work for the same thing, so you should always be nice. And he hasn't been very nice. Number 2, Vin Diesel. If you think having a co-producer credit on the absolutely massive Fast and Furious franchise would go to someone's head, well, you'd be correct. Look at you go. Armed with his producer credit, Vin Diesel has been able to get away with a lot of tardiness on his Fast and the Furious sets. With the power to make decisions about pretty much everything, Vin has apparently peed off quite a few cast and crew members on his films. Apparently, he ain't a fan of 7 AM Monday morning call times for set, which is kind of understandable. So, the whole production was forced to make it 10 AM just for him. These are 12-hour days, usually more actually, just so we understand what's going on here. But even with that adjusted time schedule, Vin was often 30 minutes to an hour late to shoot scenes. And it wasn't because he was late to set, it's because he was chillin' in his 1,100 square foot, 2-story, custom-built gold trailer with $70,000 worth of technology, round-the-clock video surveillance, and granite countertops in the kitchen. I'm actually not joking, and that trailer does indeed follow him around the world to sets. It's actually kinda cool, not gonna lie. But not cool enough to hold up entire productions. Vin also makes very big decisions about what will and won't happen on the films, and he would tick off a lot of people doing that. One of them famously being The Rock, who made a post about it online. Now, The Rock regrets that action, but as he said in a later interview, quote, "Yet, interestingly enough, it was as if every single crew member found their way to me and either quietly thanked me or sent me a note. But yeah, it wasn't my best day sharing that." And finally, in at number 1, Alec Baldwin. No, I'm not going to be talking about the fact that Alec Baldwin accidentally took someone's life on set, but I will be talking about how the actor has been accused of belittling customer service workers. In May 2023, a server accused Alec of calling her a peasant. The anonymous waitress told Page 6, "I was going to feed the head of the table, but that's who Alec was talking to. So I go up to him and I say, 'I'm sorry sir, but we're going to have servers walking through the tables here in a minute.' Which is when Alec asked her, 'So when is it a good time to talk to my friends, huh?' Adding to that, he was very agitated and asked her, quote, 'Do I have to explain it to you?' After replying that she didn't need Alec to explain a damn thing, Alec allegedly said, 'Well then, step aside.' Apparently, afterwards, her co-workers informed her that Alec had called her a peasant as she continued on doing her job. Now, there are also multiple clips online of Alec getting pretty aggressive with paparazzi, which is okay, and there was a time he got pretty fed up when cycling through New York. Baldwin has been known for his anger issues for quite some time now, so yeah.
Number 10. Kim and Drake. Drake is a famous Canadian rap artist, and I've heard he's got a pretty stellar candy room in his mansion. Sounds pretty fun. Recently, Drake dropped a song called Search and Rescue, now available on Spotify. Halfway through the track, the music cuts out and a voice clip of Kim Kardashian and her mother Kris from an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians begins to play. The intention was to throw shade at Kanye West, whom Drake has had problems with in the past, but it only added fuel to the rumor fire surrounding his alleged affair with Kim during her marriage to Kanye. In the clip, Kim says, "I don't come this far just to not be happy. Remember that." On top of this, many fans have brought up Drake's lyrics from his song In My Feelings, claiming that Kiki is actually Kim herself. Hardcore internet sleuths sifted through his lyrics and discovered that if you take the directions that he's rapping about in the song and start at Drake's house in LA, it actually takes you directly to Kim's front gate. Coincidence? I think not. Number 9. Kendall and Bad Bunny. Not long ago, Kendall Jenner was dating a basketball player from the Phoenix Suns named Devin Booker. Devin and Kendall were together for over 2 years, first getting together in 2020. However, in 2022, the couple had a quiet breakup that left fans wondering what really happened to end what seemed to be such a strong relationship. Well, it turns out there may have been another man. Or a bunny, if you will. I'm just gonna show myself out, jeez. Bad Bunny is a popular rapper, singer, songwriter, and now actor, after briefly starring in last year's action comedy Bullet Train as the Wolf. In March of this year, Bunny seemingly dissed Kendall's ex, Booker, in his track Coco Chanel. He rapped, "The sun in Puerto Rico is hotter than in Phoenix." And a few weeks following the song's release, Kendall introduced Bunny to her horse, Arizona, in California. Oh, that's so cute, you named it Arizona. The couple are officially together. Let's see how long this one lasts. Number 8. Devin Booker and Kendall Jenner. Jenner and Booker were first spotted together on a double date with other people. At the time, Booker was dating Kylie's best friend, Jordan Woods, and Jenner was dating Ben Simmons. In February of 2019, it was revealed that Booker and Woods' relationship had fizzled out. But not long after the announcement, Woods was caught kissing Khloe Kardashian's boo, Tristan Thompson. Yeah, this is just gonna be very messy. Kardashian and Thompson split, and with that, Kylie's friendship with Woods was gone. But what that meant was that Kendall and Devin were free to do whatever they wanted. It was confirmed they were seeing each other after multiple sources caught them road tripping together over the summer of 2020. They were together for roughly 2 years before calling it quits in 2022, taking a break to figure out if their future together was actually meant to be. They got back together, but ultimately ended things on good terms in November of that same year. Number 7. Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet. Timothée Chalamet is slowly building his acting repertoire in Hollywood, and so far it's going pretty well. He starred as the lead in Dune, and he was recently announced to be playing a young Willy Wonka in a TV series chronicling Wonka's rise to glory. It was also recently announced that he was seeing Kylie Jenner like every week. While the announcement of them being a couple is a little out of nowhere, the fact is that Kylie has been co-parenting her 2 kids with Travis Scott, and Travis did not appreciate the secrecy. He said that he felt blindsided by the announcement, but he respects her decision to move on romantically. This relationship isn't all that recent, however, it was reported that the two may have shared a private moment or two during her marriage to Scott. Neither party have confirmed nor denied the rumors, but just seeing these two in a picture together makes us think that there is no way this relationship is that fresh, right? Number 6. Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson. Pete Davidson was the youngest cast member on Saturday Night Live when he was hired at the age of 20. He was the youngest cast member of all time. In 2021, Kim Kardashian hosted an episode of the show and starred in a sketch with Pete, parodying A Whole New World from the Disney film Aladdin. The sketch was okay, but apparently sitting that close to each other all week really got them going. At the time, Kim was still involved with rapper Kanye West, who actually attended the live show, but apparently stormed out of the room following her scene with Pete. Apparently, Kanye had been present at rehearsals all week, and he remembers regularly seeing Pete and Kim smiling and laughing together while he was being ignored entirely. Kim and Kanye began their divorce process not long after that show, and simultaneously, Pete announced that him and Kim were official. They were only together for about a year, but it was enough time for Pete to get close to her family and even get a tattoo of her kid's name on his arm, which sounds hardcore, but he has like a million tattoos, so it's probably jammed between like a skull and an MGK portrait. Who knows? Number 5. Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker. Travis Barker is the drummer of the popular band Blink-182. Travis and Kourtney met after Barker had spent some time with the Kardashian crew at her mom Kris Jenner's house in California. Following the official news of their relationship, many fans were quick to comment on the short time between her relationship with Barker and that of her ex-boo, Luka Sabat. According to Kris herself, Travis and Kourtney began flirting while she was still seeing someone. Their connection was so strong from the beginning, but unfortunately that meant the end of one relationship but the start of a new one too. Kourtney appears to be very happy with the Blink-182 drummer, and Luka doesn't seem to have any issues with them being together, so I guess this is a cheating scandal with a happy ending for now. Number 4. Kim and Kanye. Kim Kardashian and Kanye West started dating in 2012 and they were officially married 2 years later in 2014. During their marriage, life was rocky to say the least. While Kim was fairly tame for the most part, as we all know, Kanye was slowly having a mental breakdown. He was posting hate speech and racially fueled tweets and constantly sharing his political views as well as publicly backing Donald Trump. Is it really any surprise that Kim found comfort in another man's arms? While hosting Saturday Night Live in 2021, Kim met Pete Davidson, previously mentioned, while still married to Kanye. Kanye discovered that Kim and Pete began dating following the live show, and it seemed to be the final breaking point. Apparently only a few months before the show, Ye and Kim were constantly arguing about everything. And following the divorce, Kim revealed that she would constantly be trying to help Kanye understand why his views and his words were just so wrong. She wanted him to get better, but instead he doubled down and filed for a divorce. Kim is now happily single and received joint custody of her 4 kids, so it's a win-win for the Kardashian clan, and for Kanye, well, Number 3. Tyga and Kylie Jenner. Michael Ray Stevenson, known professionally as Tyga, is an American rap artist with a long list of bops under his belt. In 2011, he was asked to perform at Kendall Jenner's Sweet 16, and her sister Kylie was smitten. The two would keep in contact over the years, but rumors of them being a couple were shot down constantly until 2012, when he broke off his relationship with fiancée Blac Chyna, also a rap artist. It appeared that the split was due to the revelation that Kylie and Tyga were in fact an item. Tyga looked to Twitter to defend his actions, telling people not to believe the rumors. He's been friends with the family forever, they're all just friends. A year later though, they posted a photo on Halloween of themselves wearing a couple's costume, Chucky and the bride of Chucky. A couple of years went by and the pair were constantly seen together on dates, posted several pictures together on Instagram, and Tyga even bought her a Ferrari on her 18th birthday. They eventually split, and Kylie has moved on a couple of times with her next partner, Party Next Door, who is a person, that is a terrible name, even posting a photo on Instagram comparing his watches to Tyga's and claiming that the more diamonds the better. Alright boys, let's not stand around all day comparing watch sizes. Number 2. Kim Kardashian and Ray J. In this case, Kim was the staff that had the affair. You see, herself and the rap artist shared a 3-year relationship, but they met before Kim was famous while she was working as a stylist for his sister Brandy. At the time they met, Kim was still married to Damon Thomas, but apparently wasn't too happy with the relationship. She took part in an affair with Ray J and called it off with Thomas. During their time together, a certain tape was released online without Kim's permission, and the content contained explicit material of herself and Ray J doing the nasty. She sued the company that released it for $5 million to retrieve the rights and own the film. Following the release of the tape, their relationship quickly crumbled, and it was later revealed that both parties were cheating the entire time. And despite them having the knowledge of that, they just, they didn't care. They just kept doing it. Number 1. Kris Jenner and Robert Kardashian. Mama Kris Jenner met Robert Kardashian at a horse race in California in 1973, and immediately sparks flew. At that time, Kris was in a committed relationship with Cesar Sonato, a pro golfer. He was often gone so long that there were gaps in their relationship, and Robert filled that gap. Kris began an affair with Robert that lasted for quite some time, until one day, Cesar returned home early and walked in on the couple doing the no pants dance. Needless to say, Cesar broke it off with Kris right away, but Robert also broke things off with Kris, claiming that she wasn't mature enough for a serious relationship. Yeah, no duh, dude. Robert was basically a mistress. He wasn't much more mature himself. He began dating Elvis Presley's daughter, but that relationship failed too, and Robert ended up returning to Kris's arms. They were married for a little over a decade when Kris proved that she had not matured at all. She took part in another affair, and this time it was with soccer player Todd Waterman. Robert hired private investigators after becoming suspicious of Kris, and he was proven right. So if there's anything to take away from this video, is if you think your partner is cheating, you're probably right. People are horrible now. Number 10. Kim's nannies. Kim Kardashian is arguably one of the most famous of the Kardashian sisters, and it would also seem she's the busiest. For example, Kim has 4 kids, a skincare line, her Skims brand, she's attending law school, co-founded an equity team, and even recently hopped on the podcast train. In addition to filming her new reality show on Hulu. You may be asking yourself, how does one woman do all of that by herself? Well, she pays people to do it for her, duh. She has multiple assistants and nannies to help her stay above the overwhelming workload, but has been known to treat them as lesser than herself. For instance, on several occasions, Kim and her daughter North would go to lunch, accompanied by a nanny. But Kim would always make her nanny sit at a separate table far away from them when they were in restaurants. But she is known to make her nannies also walk at least like 10 feet away from her at all times. Unless she has multiple nannies with her at once, then she likes to make them stand in like a V formation because it looks cool apparently. If they walk near her or attempt to try and walk side by side, she blows up at them behind closed doors. And needless to say, she has had many nannies over the year and has probably made a lot of them cry at least once. Number 9. Kourtney in general. While Kim may not be the best boss in the world, it's Kourtney who is known as the absolute worst boss of all time. According to former nannies, Kourtney was by far the worst Kardashian to work for. Not only is she a neat freak, needing every single thing to be exactly where it should be, but she's also known for being surprisingly cheap, even once calling a grocery store while she was shopping to compare the prices of a chicken breast. Because, if anyone needs that extra 99 cents, it's Kourtney. But this isn't the worst thing she's done. At one time, Kourtney's daughter had bitten a nanny so hard that she had to quit. But instead of letting it go and taking responsibility for not teaching her daughter how to act properly, she actually berated the nanny and told her that she should have said something to her daughter in the moment. Cause yes, blame the woman that you're paying to raise your child instead of the child itself, who's probably got some kind of an abandonment issue. Number 8. Toxic chemicals. Kylie Jenner is the youngest of the Kardashian clan, is extremely successful for her age. In 2019, she made the cover of Forbes magazine as the youngest self-made billionaire ever, following the successful partnership between her cosmetic brand and Ulta, a beauty salon company, which would allow the brand previously only available online and in random pop-up stores to be placed on shelves in Ulta's 1,000 plus stores. This is unfortunate considering the true nature of just where those products come from. You see, many employees at the factory that mix and package her makeup have reported that they were never given any proper safety equipment that one would require to do that job. They were only given hairnets, lab coats, and safety goggles, leaving their hands and faces completely exposed. And workers would regularly report migraines, mild chemical burns on their hands, and a myriad of other symptoms. If this isn't bad enough, they were also forced to act as human test subjects for Kylie's new products. Now, Kylie was very proud of her company not testing products on animals, but we can agree that using people like guinea pigs is like a billion times worse, right guys? Number 7. The underpay. While the Kardashians have had their problems with staff individually, there seems to be one specifically toxic trait that the family shares as a unit. They don't like to pay people. Former employees have come forward over the years calling out the family for not paying them fair wages or overtime hours. The Kardashians don't cover expenses, meaning gas, food, rent, anything that you need is paid out of pocket, with zero money coming back to you. To make matters worse, the Kardashians wouldn't pay them on a set amount of days, meaning you just kinda got a check when you got a check and had to deal with it in between A and B. You would think with the family being one of the richest in the world that they would at least pay the people that help run their lives. Now, while they have a massive staff of people cooking their food, folding their clothes, and raising their children, they barely even acknowledge their existence. Just imagine what would happen if that staff decided to walk out. The family would crumble in less than a day. Number 6. Factory workers. Popping back to Kylie's makeup factory for a moment, we felt the need to split her misdoings into 2 separate entries simply because of just how messed up this place really is. Not only do they not have proper safety equipment and are basically used as human test subjects whenever Kylie wants, the factory itself is small and cramped, with many employees claiming that there were too many workers and not enough space. This description sounds very similar to, a sweatshop, which is a word describing a workplace in which the employees work ridiculous hours and brutal conditions for nearly nothing for pay. And a lot of people agreed with that statement. One former tester recounts having to constantly go back and forth to the bathroom as her anxiety was always through the roof. She was around so many people so much of her day, and it was such a terrible work environment. We completely understand the need to escape. At one point a few years back, Kylie even refused to pay her employees at a garment factory in Bangladesh, leaving thousands of employees with no money and no idea when or if they were going to return to work. Man, you know what? You suck, Kylie! Number 5. Victoria. Victoria Valero has been Kylie's close personal assistant since 2015, but the pair go back to 2014 when she was interning as a personal assistant for Kylie's mother, Kris. After gaining the family's trust, she was hired as Kylie's house manager at first, but soon after became her personal assistant. Herself and Jenner became very close over the years, and Victoria was even present at the secret birth of Kylie's daughter, Stormi. Now you would think with being so close to the family through thick and thin that she would want to stick around, right? Well, all good things must come to an end, as Victoria decided to quit in 2019. Many fans allege that she had just quit her job to focus on becoming an Instagram influencer, but that was far from her real reason for leaving. Being in that family means seeing a lot of stuff and doing a lot of stuff, and Victoria was basically in charge of scheduling Kylie's life, booking appointments, meetings, massages, all of this stressful enough, basically being a 24/7 gig, but the job was also very degrading, with Kylie having Victoria even pull out a stool once and set it up outside so that Kylie could get out of her car smoother. I think anyone in their right mind would want to get out of that job as quickly as possible. Number 4. Paid in exposure. When Andre Turbia, a very famous YouTube animator and content creator, was asked to work with Kylie Jenner, he thought that his life would change forever. He was under the impression that the collaboration would grant him a huge amount of money, possibly a guest spot on her reality TV show, and maybe some shoutouts online via Instagram and Twitter. However, when Andre brought up the topic of his compensations to Jenner, she responded with, the company doesn't actually have a budget right now to pay you, so we're just gonna have to pay you in exposure. Like, okay, that's cool. You can't cook exposure in a frying pan and eat it for dinner though, and I'm pretty sure it's not currency accepted at any gas stations or banks that I know of. And of course, by exposure, she meant that Andre's name was going to be printed as small as possible underneath her content. Andre did what anyone in their right mind would do in that situation and refused to work with her, telling her to take her exposure and shove it where the sun don't shine. Number 3, GoFundMe. In March 2021, Kylie, oh look, she's back again, shared an Instagram post asking for prayers for one of her makeup artists named Samuel Rhoda. The post redirected fans to a GoFundMe page where they were asking to donate money for covering his medical bills for an upcoming surgery. That's right, the woman made a feature on Forbes' top 60 self-made women and was asking her fans to give over the goods. So why would she not just use some of her billions of dollars to cover the bills herself? Well, she went online to claim that her and Sam didn't actually know each other personally, but she had worked with him a few years ago and thought that he was a sweetheart. Supposedly, her current makeup artist had shared a post about Samuel's accident, which included a link to a GoFundMe campaign created by his family. She went on to let fans know that she herself donated like $5,000. Okay, sure, that's a ton of money for us, but for Jenner that's like $5. So something tells me the surgery is going to be a little bit more than that. This is just another instance proving that Kylie is the absolute worst. Number 2, Forbes flub. Oh, I'm sorry, was that not enough proof for you that Kylie sucks? Well, hey, here you go. As mentioned earlier in this list, Kylie Jenner made the cover of Forbes magazine in 2019 as the youngest self-made billionaire ever, following the successful partnership between her cosmetic brand, named after herself, and Ulta, a beauty salon company. Well, it turned out that wasn't really the case. Jenner allegedly sold half of her cosmetics company, Kylie Cosmetics, to beauty giant Coty in a deal worth $1.2 billion. Now, this was huge and considered one of the greatest celebrity cash outs of all time. But the first rule of being a famous person is, if you can help it, try not to lie. Especially to like Forbes magazine, who did some digging and revealed that Jenner was actually inflating the size and profit margins of her business. It turned out the cosmetic brand was on a much smaller scale than originally thought, as it was uncovered Jenner only actually made around $314 million after taxes for her company. Several financial advisors backed up the story, claiming that they were berated into complying with the lie and made to help maintain the numbers for publicity's sake. The mother of the family, Kris, even played a key role in gathering false business documents to send to Forbes, making her company appear to be in the billions. Remember, if you can't figure something out, just ask mom. And number 1, the lawsuit. In March of 2021, a lawsuit was arranged by several of Kim's former employees. The plaintiffs claim Kardashian West failed to pay overtime, cover expenses, or provide any legally mandated breaks, which, like, hey, super illegal. They also never received actual pay stubs or any proof of payment whatsoever. They were also made to purchase everything out of pocket, and one plaintiff was even fired on the spot for simply addressing his concerns to Kim. And when the rest were eventually let go, they received no type of severance package or pay of any kind. It was also uncovered that Kim would keep 10% of all of their earnings for tax purposes, but failed to report their employment to tax authorities. Kim's argument was that she could not be held responsible for any of this, as most of her employees were supposedly hired and paid by a third-party company, meaning that she herself was not technically their direct employer and therefore could not be liable. Kim maintains that she paid people on time and that they were suing the wrong person, but if that were the case, maybe Kardashian would have used some of her high status and influence long ago to make things work for her staff so that, hey, maybe she wouldn't be getting sued right now. Something to think about, Kim.
At number 10, we have Ariana Grande. Ariana once got banned for life from a donut shop after the star was caught on camera licking a bunch of donuts she didn't pay for. In 2015, the star entered the Wolfie Donut shop with some friends. When the clerk went to the back room, Grande would proceed to lick some donuts that she didn't pay for. Later, the owner of the restaurant watched the video and would end up banning her from the location for life. They would also go to try press charges against her. However, nothing ever went through with the charges because the incident would have only cost $4 for the donut she didn't pay for. The owner, however, was very upset with Ariana and said not even an apology from Grande would have caused him to change his mind. Unfortunately for Grande, the incident would have caused her chance to be booked to play a gig at the White House, and she would later go on to make jokes about herself for the incident. Number 9, Britney Spears. After having a pretty public mental breakdown, Britney Spears made a spectacle of smearing food across her face in a restaurant. Britney was described as acting weird by fellow staff and celebrities present at the time of the incident. While sitting at her table, Britney started to play dress up with her dinner. While many were left feeling concerned and disturbed by the incident, the staff were quick to check on the star and escorted her from her table and out of the restaurant. Britney would then be later informed that she was no longer welcome in the restaurant or on the hotel grounds itself. Now, her behavior herself wasn't a sin or rude behavior. However, how she portrayed herself in public and how she never issued an apology for her actions definitely made some people raise some eyebrows. Luckily for Britney, after she cleaned herself up, the restaurant lifted its ban of 2 years, and she was later pictured celebrating her 28th birthday. Now, if you're enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. At number 8, we have Ruby Rose. Ruby Rose was once kicked out of a bar in New Orleans for allegedly throwing fries at the waitstaff. The star was described by the owner as being a child because she threw a big tantrum in the middle of the restaurant. After she threw the tantrum, the staff booted her from the establishment, where she then started to curse out the bartender and even began to throw food at the staff member. Ruby later would write a Facebook post where she didn't deny throwing the fries. However, she did explain why she did it. Ruby claimed that they waited 60 minutes for the fries and over 90 minutes for food that never showed up to the table. When they asked the bartender what was taking so long, he offered Ruby and her table some free drinks. When the star told the bartender no thanks, she said he started to mock her and her friends. At one point, the bartender even told her to go call her sponsor, and that's when the star reacted to throwing a french fry at the staff member. Ruby would later say she regretted how she acted and maybe she wouldn't throw french fries again. But maybe next time the bartender wouldn't be so insensitive. Number 7, Stuart Raw. Not only has Stuart been kicked out of Nobu, but he's also been banned from the popular Japanese restaurant. Back in 2012, the New York Post reported that the billionaire was banned for life as he tried to bribe people to give up their table for him. He then continued to call the manager Sharon, demeaning names, while he was escorted out of the restaurant. However, the drama wouldn't stop there. Stuart would then send an email to Nobu co-owner Drew demanding that the manager be fired and seat some big name celebrities such as Leonardo DiCaprio, Alicia Keys, and Mark Wahlberg. This also isn't the first time the billionaire hasn't played well with others, as the star has allegedly started fights with Tiger Woods and has even been thrown out of a celebrity Hamptons party after being labeled a stalker. If we learned anything from Stuart, it's that just because you have money, it doesn't give you the right for a free pass. Number 6, Jamie Kennedy. Jamie Kennedy once helped save a woman in a car crash after getting kicked out of a restaurant in Houston. After performing at the Houston Improv, the comedian decided to head over to the Yard House for some drinks with his friends. However, the management staff at the Yard House had to ask Jamie to leave and proceeded to escort the star out of the building for using profanity with the waitstaff. After leaving the establishment without a fight, Jamie decided he wasn't ready to go home for the night and proceeded to head to a different bar. Around 2:40 a.m., when the star was walking to the next location, a car flipped over up onto the sidewalk where they were walking just 10 feet in front of them. Jamie and his entourage then proceeded to help the two women out of the smoking car. Number 5, Jamie Foxx. Stars witnessed Jamie Foxx get kicked out of a restaurant while he was assaulted at his table. Jamie was reportedly having dinner at the restaurant when a customer approached his table and complained to him that him and his friends were being too loud. When the group proceeded to not care, the person yelled, "You don't want to mess with me? I'm from New York." Jamie then fired back, "F you, I'm from Oakland." The person then began to charge at Foxx, and some witnesses even said Foxx began to fight back and took the person down. Both parties were eventually thrown out of the restaurant for their bad behavior. Number 4, we have Dennis Rodman. Charles Oakley had to once kick Dennis Rodman out of his steakhouse for eating off of other people's plates. Charles said he agreed to meet with Dennis at his steakhouse after the two made an appearance at a Miami event together. However, before he arrived, he got a phone call from his manager telling him to get to the location as fast as he could. When Charles arrived to the location, he looked through the window and saw Dennis eating, then moving to the next table and eating some more. Charles went straight up to Dennis and asked him what he was doing. Dennis responded by saying, "I'm relaxing and trying to entertain." Now, Charles clearly wasn't impressed with the star's action and proceeded to kick him out of the restaurant. He then told the basketball star to never come near him again, destroying their relationship relationship off the court. What Dennis thought was a joke clearly wasn't, and he should have known better than to do that in a high-class restaurant. At number 3, we have Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage was once kicked out of a restaurant after being mistaken for being homeless. Now, the Oscar winner was at the Laurie Prime Rib restaurant located in Las Vegas. In a video later obtained by The Sun, you could see the star sitting on the restaurant sofa in a drunken state. Now, it's easy to see why the restaurant would have mistaken the star first as being homeless, considering he was wearing cheetah print PJ pants and he had no shoes on. While waiting for the table, he was acting rowdy and proceeded to get into an altercation with the staff. Even after being escorted out of the restaurant, Cage continued to argue with the staff while trying to go back in. While Nicholas did ignore to comment about the incident, he did say his work did help him avoid getting into situations like the one at the restaurant. Number 2, Jenna Fisher. Now, Jenna actually wasn't kicked out of a restaurant in real life. However, her character Pam in the comedy show The Office was. It all started when Jenna decided to tweet a photo of her pictured in front of the restaurant where she asked if she should try to go in. Pam in the show was so tipsy she continually began to fall out of her chair and display some pretty rude behavior. It got to the point that the restaurant owner stated she was no longer welcome back at the restaurant chain ever again. Number 1. James Corden. Recently, James Corden was banned from a famous New York City restaurant after being a jerk to wait staff. The owner of the restaurant, Keith McNally, posted to his Instagram to state the comedian was effectively banned from his famous bistro after he became one of the most abusive customers to enter location since it opened. So you're probably wondering what led James to be banned. Well, Keith detailed 2 examples of how the star misconducted himself at the restaurant, which led to his ban being indefinite. The first example is he was extremely nasty to servers, demanded drinks to come to his table, and that they be comped altogether. The second incident took place when James' wife, Julia, received her egg yolk omelet only to find that there was some egg whites mixed in. The omelet was then remade and brought back to the table with fries instead of a salad. James then continued to yell at the staff that they didn't know how to do their jobs. Eventually, the situation was resolved when the floor manager decided to step in. James has yet responded to Keith's allegation. However, if one thing's clear, he definitely won't be eating at this location for a while.
Number 10, sharing the stage. J-Lo didn't hold back when it came to her opinion on sharing the stage with Shakira at the 2020 Super Bowl halftime show. In her newly released documentary called Halftime, she labeled it as the worst idea in the world. Quote, "If it was going to be a double headliner, they should have given us 20 minutes. That's what they should have effing done." Basically, it turns out that Jennifer was frustrated with the NFL for booking 2 headliners and making them share the same amount of time that any solo performer would receive, as opposed to doubling it and giving the women extra time to shine. As a result, fans slammed the artist for coming off as entitled. While it's true that they only gave the performers 6 minutes each, the action-packed show garnered immense praise from fans across the globe, with many fans commending the women for showcasing their Latin heritage so brilliantly. What J-Lo was really mad about though is that previous solo headliners like Beyonce and The Weeknd received 14 minutes to perform, but judging by her complaints, it's clear that she feels offended that they asked her to share the stage at all. Number 9, cheating allegations. Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have had an on-again, off-again romance that has been going on since the 2000s, with fans even nicknaming the couple Benifer. I mean, these two just got married this year after they first got engaged nearly 2 decades ago, but the timeline of their relationship is a huge red flag and included alleged cheating. So in July of 2002, Lopez filed for divorce from her second husband, Chris Judd, citing irreconcilable differences. But this news broke just months after Lopez had wrapped the movie Geely alongside her then boyfriend Ben. Even though she vehemently denied cheating rumors, Ben took out an ad in The Hollywood Reporter gushing about Lopez before her divorce wasn't yet finalized. In fact, even Chris Judd's father, Larry, spoke out against the couple and accused J-Lo of being unfaithful to his son. He insinuated that the affair started during the filming of Geely. Quote, "I thought Miss Mr. Affleck would honor a married woman and not just go right into the trailer, and added that she'd be happier if she just tell the truth and no one in her little circle is going to say one negative thing to her. But we'll never really know the truth of what happened. Number 8. Music theft. The star has been accused of stealing and borrowing background tracks and vocals from other artists for years. One of the stars who accused her of doing this was Usher in 2005. He claimed that she stole a song that he cast aside while recording his hugely successful album called Confessions. Usher claimed that J-Lo's single Get Right is actually a re-recorded version of Ride, a song that he co-wrote the year before, which was only available online. He said, quote, "I hate it, but I'd better get some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right, but I didn't expect J-Lo to just take it." And apart from being accused of stealing the same sample song that Mariah Carey used for Loverboy, J-Lo was also given songs that were initially intended for Ashanti, which is why a lot of people claim what happened between the two artists was straight up music theft. In September of 2001, Lopez released I'm Real from her second studio album, J-Lo, that she worked on with Irv Gotti. But the song was already recorded and mixed with Ashanti's vocals, which is why you can still hear her background vocals in Lopez's version. Number 7. Makeup artist feud. Scott Barnes, who worked for J-Lo for the past 20 years, has had to deal with so much of the star's crazy hot and cold behavior. In the mid-2000s, the star essentially banished her longtime makeup artist, Scott Barnes, after rumors surfaced that someone had leaked info to the press about her and Mark Anthony's secret marriage ceremony. Speaking on the Jeff Probst show in 2012, when asked about how J-Lo treated him, he said, quote, "It was like I had the plague." But interestingly enough, eventually she ended up giving Barnes his old job back again after learning the truth, but apparently failed to apologize for being so cold and ruthless towards him. I mean, she literally cut him off without a word and blamed him for the leak without even confronting him. Barnes went on to say, quote, "I went right back to work with her and we just never spoke about it again," which is even weirder. The funny thing is, her celebrity makeup artist would go on to work with her for another 6 years and insisted that they remain on good terms despite the fact that she ghosted him and didn't even apologize for it. Number 6. The Mark Anthony romance. Celebrity gossip magazines could not get enough of the power couple in the early 2000s. They were absolutely everywhere and it seemed like fans loved the pairing. But their beginnings as a couple were super questionable to say the least. Anthony married former Miss Universe Dayanara Torres in 2000, while Lopez was dating Ben Affleck roughly around the same time. But the on-again, off-again couple picked their romance back up while Anthony was still married to Dayanara. So less than a week after Anthony's divorce was finalized, the couple surprised fans by getting married in a small, casual ceremony in her Beverly Hills home in early June. It really begs the question of whether or not J-Lo was some kind of homewrecker, because the timeline of the rekindled relationship seems really off. I mean, he actually broke Dayanara's heart, and she said, quote, "You go through hell. I cried until there were no tears left, until I was numb. I didn't want to eat, I didn't care to get dressed or take a shower, I just wanted to lie there." Anthony's feelings for Jennifer might have been there all along because the two had history, but he should have put way more thought into who he chose to marry in the first place. So in a way, they're both at fault here. Number 5. Insensitive comments. To give you some background on why everyone felt that J-Lo was trashing belly dancing. So a part of the 2020 Super Bowl performance featured young dancers sitting in glowing cages, which many people assume represented the immigrant children in cages at the US border. But she apparently had a hard time convincing the NFL to do this, and said, quote, "I'm trying to give you something with substance, not just us out there shaking our effing asses and effing belly dancing." She went on to say that she wants something real, something that's gonna make a statement, something that's gonna say we belong here and we have something to offer. Now, if you're confused about why that was so controversial, essentially she compared the art of belly dancing to just shaking your butt for the hell of it. In fact, that particular line was shared across Twitter and people were big mad. It was just a little culturally insensitive to say, considering the fact that the dance has long been associated with Middle Eastern cultures, and it's something that Shakira has become known for, using it to channel her father's Lebanese Syrian Arab roots. Number 4. Avoiding the Bronx. This one, train wreck of an ad campaign, led people to openly mock both Chrysler and Jennifer Lopez. The central premise of the ad was that sometimes J-Lo will drive through her old hood in the South Bronx in a Fiat 500 just to stay inspired. Although it sounds sounds ridiculous, the marketing campaign obviously tried to draw on the singer's famous Jenny from the Block era. Most people recognize the song in which she pays tribute to growing up in the Bronx, which had been a solid part of her image since the 90s. In fact, the singer even titled her debut album On the 6, which is a clear reference to the New York subway train. A press release at the time even stated that she would be traveling through the streets of Manhattan to the Bronx where she grew up. But the ad backfired when the Smoking Gun reported that Lopez never actually went to the Bronx to film the ad and that a body double stand-in was used instead, calling it, quote, such a breathtaking assemblage of urban cliches, and that was putting it lightly. Number 3, the movie line interview. The infamous movie line interview in 1998 that could have almost ruined JLo's career was truly worse than you can imagine. She was 27 at the time and fresh off the success of her film Selena. She basically decided to trash all the other celebrities that were big at the time and tried to trivialize their career and contribution to the industry. In fact, when asked about Madonna, she actually said, quote, do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. And I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft. It was so ironic because JLo would go on to do both music and acting for the rest of her career, and critics also trashed her acting on the big screen. Also, at the time, Madonna had been a star for a lot longer than JLo, so there was no real comparison there. And when Gwyneth Paltrow was brought up, Jennifer almost seemed to laugh and made it clear that she didn't take her fellow actress's career seriously. Quote, tell me what she's been in. I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work. Yikes. Number 2, accusations of racism. 20 years ago, Lopez was approaching full actualization as an entertainer, but a single from her second album, JLo, almost derailed her career entirely. The Murder Inc. remix of I'm Real, which features Ja Rule and Own Radio in 2001, was ruined by the N-bomb that she drops in her final verse. The issue was that the song was an instant hit, so much so that 10 years later, in 2011, Billboard gave it the 6th spot on its 40 biggest duets of all time list. But rightfully so, people were outraged by her use of the loaded term, not only because she's a Latina artist, but at her level of success, where she has a platform and sets an example to young fans, using such a derogatory word is at best offensive. But as the accusations of racism started to mount against the star, she eventually spoke out to defend her actions on the Today Show. Quote, for anyone who thinks or suggests that I'm racist is really absurd and hateful to me. Although many people think this is not an excuse, it was later revealed that the track was actually written by Ja Rule himself, and apparently he encouraged her to say it. And number 1, fired a maid. This one is really indefensible. Jennifer Lopez allegedly got a German hotel maid fired for asking for an autograph. Frey Dodage was a staff member at the luxury Melia Hotel in Dusseldorf, Germany, during Lopez's stay in 2012. She was a big fan of JLo and worked up the courage to knock on the star's hotel door in Dusseldorf to ask for an autograph, and was promptly turned away. Frey claims that she was relieved from her post the day after the incident. She told The Sun, quote, I am an incredibly big fan, so I took all my courage and rang the doorbell to get an autograph, but I was rejected by 2 assistants at the door. A day later, the cleaning company that employed me at the hotel called and said that Ms. Lopez had complained. I was fired right there on the phone. If the incident really happened, it's hard to ignore the irony when you remember that Jennifer played a hotel maid in the movie Made in Manhattan. After receiving a rightful amount of backlash, the pop star wrote on Twitter, quote, come on, thought you knew me better than this, would never get anyone fired over an autograph. First I heard of this was on Twitter, #hurtful. Number 10, the open relationship. After reports swirled that Brad Pitt was dating German model Nicole Putarowski, who looks a little bit like a younger version of Angelina, the world was set into a tailspin. But fans were a little bit confused when they found out that the model was already married to a much older man named Roland Mary, a German restaurateur who's 41 years her senior. Not only that, but Pitt allegedly met her through her husband. A source told the Daily Mail email that Brad had been coming to Roland's restaurant for years, and he was then introduced to his wife Nicole, and she passed him her number. The two of them were eventually spotted in the south of France at Chateau Miraval, the estate he shared with Angelina. To make matters worse, the trip allegedly occurred near what would have been his and Jolie's wedding anniversary. But however scandalous the relationship was, it was always a little ambiguous as to whether there was any cheating involved, especially considering that Nicole is quite philosophical about the whole open marriage deal, and her husband seemed alright with the arrangement. So was the whole thing a little bit strange? Yes, but not necessarily wrong. Number 9. The foundation scandal. After Hurricane Katrina, Brad Pitt's Make It Right Foundation built 109 eye-catching and affordable homes in New Orleans for a community where people were displaced by the damage since 2005. But according to Pop Science, the vast majority of the homes are riddled with construction-related problems that have led to mold, termites, rotting wood, flooding, and although some of the structures are not yet a decade old, out of all the homes built, only 6 reportedly remain in reasonably good shape to this day. Most either have had partial repairs or have been completely renovated because of structural problems, with at least 6 houses totally boarded up and abandoned. As a result, in 2018, Brad and his foundation were hit with a class action lawsuit alleging that the homes they built were structurally unsound, with faulty foundations, electrical issues, and some with incorrectly installed gas meters, putting their homes at risk of gas leaks and explosions. The actor took credit for launching Make It Right in 2007, serving as its public face for years, but when his lawyers argued that he could not be sued over the developmental failings, a judge ruled that the movie star would remain a defendant because of his role as the organization's founder and chief fundraiser. Number 8. Dissing Jennifer Aniston. Jen told Vanity Fair in 2005 that while she doubted her ex-husband was deliberately malicious, she explained that when it comes to Brad, there's a sensitivity chip that's missing. That might just be true when you look at his Parade magazine interview in 2011. The actor gave a rather unflattering description of his life and marriage with Jen. Brad felt that he wasn't living an interesting life, and in the 5 years that he was with the Friends star, he was trying to pretend the marriage was something it wasn't. Quote, "I started getting sick of myself sitting on the couch holding a joint hiding out. It started feeling pathetic. It became very clear to me that I was intent on trying to find a movie about an interesting life, but I wasn't living an interesting life myself. I think that my marriage had something to do with it." To make matters worse, when asked about life with Angelina in comparison, he admitted that he was finally a satisfied man. After receiving backlash for the interview that was basically insinuating that Jen was boring, Brad had to do some major damage control and went on to clarify his comments. Quote, "It grieves me that this was interpreted this way. The point I was trying to make is not that Jen was dull, but that I was becoming dull to myself and that I am responsible for." So at least he was able to clear that up because it probably hurt Jen quite a lot. Number 7. The judge issue. Like many celebrity couples, Pitt and Jolie opted to hire their own judge to increase their privacy in the divorce proceedings. But that became yet another point of contention for the former couple when Angelina fought for their judge to be disqualified from the case. She scored a major victory point in the divorce when the California Appeals Court agreed with her that Judge John W. Alderkirk didn't sufficiently disclose prior business relationships with Brad's attorneys, and considered that a conflict of interest. Angelina was actually able to prove that the private judge that Brad had advocated for failed to disclose the cases that revealed a close relationship between the judge and her ex-husband's legal team. On their part, they were quick to deny any impropriety and pointed out that Judge Alderkirk actually officiated the couple's wedding, but the District Court of Appeal felt that it was an ethical breach and doubted the judge's ability to be impartial. So it was a bit of a shady move on the part of Brad's lawyers, but it might have just been all for nothing, as in 2020, Brad was granted joint custody of his children with a tentative ruling, much to Angelina's frustration. Number 6. Avoiding child support. In August of 2018, Angelina accused Brad of not paying any meaningful child support for their 6 children after the divorce. The actor countered that he had actually loaned her $8 million to buy a home, plus $1.3 million for bills. Angelina's attorneys slammed Brad in a statement to Us Weekly, citing the incident of September 2016 as the reason that Angelina and the children needed to move from the family home. Her rep further insinuated that he was charging her interest on a payment plan, and that she will of course honor that loan. Quote, "A loan is not, however, child support, and to represent it as such is misleading and inaccurate." The rep added that Angelina was requesting that Brad pay 50% of the kids' expenses because she has had to shoulder the majority of those without his contribution for the past 2 years. Quote, "Child support is not optional in California. Typically, a father of means would pay these expenses voluntarily without the need for a request or a court order." The former couple's constant back and forth fighting over finances still hasn't ended. In fact, Brad is reportedly suing his ex-wife for allegedly secretly selling their $116 million winery without his knowledge. Number 5. Whitewashing. We certainly can't talk about red flags without bringing up the controversy surrounding Bullet Train. Brad has recently come under fire for allegedly whitewashing Japanese culture in his new blockbuster movie, which is an accusation that has his fans divided. The action-packed movie takes place in Japan on a high-speed train heading from Tokyo to Kyoto, which sounds great except for the fact that the majority of the cast involved are from Western countries and are not ethnically Japanese, leading many to accuse the filmmakers of insensitive casting choices. As Brad is the film's main lead, a lot of the criticism naturally falls on his shoulders, not to mention the fact that his character was originally written as Japanese in the source material. Not only are the majority of the film's main cast white, but the passengers of the Bullet Train are largely white as well, while the few background actors that do appear to be Japanese have no prominence in the story or speaking lines. The movie is based on a novel by the same name, written by author Katara Izaka, who has stood by the casting choices, but people are still upset regardless, because similar instances of whitewashing have occurred in recent movies, like Doctor Strange or Ghost in the Shell, so audiences are becoming increasingly frustrated with miscasting. Number 4. The lighting lawsuit. Odile Soudan was once considered a friend of Brad and Angelina before they ran into some major issues. In fact, the famous French designer ended up suing the couple in 2017 over massive unpaid bills for the lighting in their Chateau Miraval home. Soudan claimed that the former couple simply stopped paying for her work that she did on 4 buildings of their 40-room mansion in France. While she did not have a written contract with the former couple per se, she claims that Brad gave her the green light to do whatever she wanted to make their home beautiful. Soudan took him at his word and racked up a $29 million bill in the process. She hired architects, designers, lighting and acoustic specialists, and even went to an optical engineer to calculate the angle of the sun's rays on the chateau. But she soon noticed that the former couple stopped paying for her project after her billings reached around $6 million. Before the lawyers got involved, Brad emailed her insisting that he was a fan of her work and that she should not legally attack them because they could figure it out amongst themselves. But it was no use, as in 2017 they were ordered to pay her roughly $674,000, including extra for damaging her reputation. Number 4. Dating Juliette Lewis. When they met on the set of Too Young to Die, Brad Pitt and Juliette Lewis were infatuated with each other and went on to date for 3 years. The film was quite a big break for both actors who were still climbing the Hollywood ladder at the time, but it was clearly a great romance, as years later Brad would go on to label the relationship as one of the greatest. So why was it a red flag? Well, he was 27 at the time and she was only 17. But it was the 90s, right? Well, no, actually, it was always a little bit creepy considering the fact that Juliette was still in high school at the time. When speaking about the whirlwind romance, she told Daily Mail in 2010, quote, "I was a teenager at the time. It was a lifetime away. I was in my high school years and it was a wonderful, loving relationship with a fun, smart guy. Then it was over and he went on to become incredibly famous." The duo certainly seemed in love as they were constantly hitting up red carpet events together, like the premiere for Thelma and Louise or The Last of the Mohicans. But the relationship was still a questionable one and falls into a morally grey area because of Juliette's age at the time. Number 2. Working with Weinstein. In a recent interview, Angelina Jolie opened up to The Guardian about her experience with the disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein, speaking about his unwanted advances. Quote, "It was something I had to escape. I stayed away and warned people about him. I was asked to do The Aviator, but I said no because he was involved. I never associated or worked with him again. It was hard for me when Brad did." She went on to admit that it was very difficult for her when Brad continued to work with him, despite the fact that he tried to take advantage of her when she was 21. The couple fought over Brad's decision to take on Inglourious Basterds in 2009, which was distributed and co-financed by the Weinstein Company, and again in 2012 when he approached Weinstein to produce his film Killing Them Softly. Angelina makes it clear that Brad was well aware of what happened to her and went against her wishes anyway, which caused a great deal of pain. The actor made headlines for an interview with CNN, condemning Weinstein, and spoke about a time that he confronted him for preying on his then girlfriend Gwyneth Paltrow. So it's safe to assume he always knew about the Hollywood predator and was still happy to keep working with him. Number 1. Accusations of domestic violence. Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt's separation has been anything but a smooth process since it began, back in 2016. Their divorce seems to become messy and messier as years go by, especially after a disturbing allegation by Angelina last year, who filed court documents against her ex-husband that claimed that she was a victim of domestic violence. In fact, the court documents state that the actress and her children are willing to offer proof and authority in support of these allegations. She also agreed to provide testimony, along with the testimony of minor children. So where did this serious accusation come from? Well, in 2016, news broke that an altercation on a flight from Nice, France to Los Angeles had ultimately sparked the reason for the couple's divorce, as Brad was drinking heavily on the flight and allegedly physically hurt their oldest son, Maddox. He was subsequently investigated by the Los Angeles Department of Children and Family Services and cleared. Brad reportedly told the FBI that he had shouted at his son, but insisted that he did not attempt to physically harm him, his wife, or any of their other children. The actor has since also admitted that he was facing difficulties with alcohol at the time, and attended Alcoholics Anonymous following the divorce. So it's possible that the incident was just a family argument that happened to escalate.
At number 10, we have her forced marriage with Will Smith. Now, agree or disagree, but Jada herself has declared she got married unwillingly, and here's why. Much like everything else, Jada has openly discussed never wanting to initially marry Will, and because of this, a lot of people have made claims that Jada was wed under duress. However, Jada chalked it up to a far more reasonable explanation, and this was her being young and pregnant at the time. It's been stated how Jada's mother pushed her to tie the knot because she was fearful that Jada would never have the opportunity to get married if she didn't make that decision. Despite Jada's disapproval, the wedding still happened, and she never wanted a traditional marriage but had to compromise for Will's sake. She was going through various emotions at her 3-month term mark and even cried while going down the aisle because she was so angry with the idea of getting married. Not only was Jada against her marriage in general, she also disapproved of Will's luxurious lifestyle, and it's been detailed by sources that she was genuinely upset with Will when he bought their grand family home. If one didn't know any better, you could say their entire relationship seems forced at this point, but that's just a conspiracy theory and quite frankly, none of my business. At number 9, we have Jada being a huge attention seeker. Now this one is more of an observational theory rather than hard facts, but have you ever noticed how overly expressive she becomes when speaking about really personal things? Or how often she tries to shift the attention onto herself when it's really not about her? Well, maybe not, but according to multiple sources, this is exactly how Jada is, and they've used how she describes love to be one of their reasonings. Jada once said, the older she becomes, the more she's discovering what love truly is. Now there really isn't any harm in that statement, right? Maybe not. But it does say a lot about one's character when they've single-handedly used their deceased ex-lover and friend as a scapegoat for attention when they fall short. At least this is what those sources are saying about Jada. And that's putting it nicely. She's been described as somebody who drags Tupac's name through interviews at any given chance, where a lot of the times her late ex isn't even the topic of discussion, and Jada would just randomly mention him whenever she felt there was no spotlight on her. Again, this is more speculation, but why else would she continuously bring up someone she was close to who passed away? Wouldn't it hurt more to talk about them 24/7 rather than rarely or not at all? It's also been revealed that Jada got super pissed at Will at her 40th birthday party, which Will had been planning for 3 years prior. He had surprised her with a documentary he commissioned that chronicled her life. One would think this gesture of appreciation would work out in Will's favor, but it didn't. Jada and Will had it out after the party, and the incident was said to have popped off in their hotel when Will was reportedly shouted at and told that the event was one of the most disgusting displays of ego Jada had ever seen in her life. As a result, she and Will separated, as Will told her he was retiring from making her happy. I mean, that's one sure way to suck all the good vibes out of the room. At number 8, we have Jada's manipulation tactics. Now this is a big one. Because of everything I looked into regarding Jada, the word manipulation came up a scary amount of times. Reasons why she's been referred to as such range from a multitude of things, many of which have to do with her husband. There's Jada's lack of reassurance to Will of her and Tupac's actual relationship at the time, to her claims that she and Tupac only kissed once and that there was nothing more there. But it was apparent Tupac had feelings for Jada. Yet Jada's own description of their relationship was quote weird. Jada no doubt strung Will along by being manipulative once she and Will started dating by casually trying to play off her situation with Tupac. In doing this, she had both their support and attention, hence the manipulation tactic. Jada used this excuse of not defining her relationship openly as an advantage for herself. With both of them by her side, the situation was manipulated to the point where no one could speculate any wrongdoing from her, while she still got what she wanted in the end. Some even say that Jada forced Will to transition to an open marriage down the road as another manipulation tactic for her being forced to marry him originally. At number 7, we have all the toxic energy which seems to surround Jada. I mean, seriously, get this girl some sage or something, because I'm positive many people will mutually agree with me. And the craziest part, there's lots of proof to back up the theory that Jada is just straight up toxic. One example is her IG post with her and Will's marriage counselor. Now there are a few things to get into from this one video, but to keep things short and sweet, Jada started rolling without even asking Will if he was ready. This raised a lot of concerns about how their marriage operates behind closed doors. Jada also called Will foolish and constantly made it seem as if his opinions were invalid during this. So despite many people thinking Jada is great, there are a whole lot more who feel she is one of the most toxic, foul Hollywood celebs out there, with good reason. There's also the accusation that Jada was behind Willow's letter to Tupac post, which randomly arose on Instagram and was deleted shortly after. The moral of the point here is that Jada knows she can do whatever she wants without repercussions, and Will always be by her side to fight. So she'll never leave or actually change her ways, and to me, that's toxic AF. If you ask anybody, people say Jada's overall attitude towards Will is actually because he was never anything more to her than a rebound. But we'll get into that in just a minute. At number 6, we have Jada's responsibility for her polygamous marriage. Will and Jada are currently in what we call an open relationship, which basically just means they're free to see and be with whoever they please but can't leave each other. Will stepped forward to disclose multiple times that he and Jada's marriage for them cannot feel like a prison. And this stemmed from rumors of Jada engaging in an affair with her Hawthorne castmate Mark Anthony, who was married to Jennifer Lopez at the time of their then unconfirmed incident. Jada's inappropriate affairs, despite not being full-blown, were said to be the cause of her and Will's marriage being forced open. Basically, so Jada could mess around with other people without catching any of the blame or downfall. So long as Will agreed, of course. Which he did, by the way. And this may just be related to his previous statement of him saying he and Jada simply cannot get divorced. At number 5, we have the whole Future IG story mess, where Future made comments on Will and Jada's marriage after Jada opened up about intimacy on one of her Red Table talks to explain how a partner should know what she wants in the bedroom. Future first got involved after online memes started circulating about Will needing to hang out with him, who has a reputation for being involved with multiple women all the time, which implied that Will should learn to be more like Future in that sense. During her RTT, Jada described her partner's need to love her enough to know every part of her, which netizens thought implied Will didn't love her the way she was demanding. Twitter users also took her statements literally, which in turn sparked the whole debate of whether or not she embarrassed Will by saying she'd really bring Future to the Red Table. Charlemagne the God even questioned on his show once if Will was ever jealous of Jada and Tupac's relationship, where Will speaks about being insecure because of their tight bond. At number 4, we have Jada and her top-level narcissism. A user on Quora once described Jada as a histrionic, borderline narcissist, and their opinion on it in short is that Jada provokes Will's touch of feminism nature to bruise his ego. This user even explained why they feel Will has narcissistic tendencies and may even be one himself. They said, when you are involved with a highly narcissistic person, your mind is not your own. Jada said to Will, we're ride or die, bad marriage till the end. I knew then, they're both narcs. Will's masculinity suffered a narcissistic injury when Jada had a fling with a troubled young musician, a friend of her kid. Then Will went on Red Table to discuss it and she emasculated him. Will was triggered in the beginning by her obsession with Tupac. He took all of it out on Chris Rock when Jada gave him that look that triggered him to slap Chris. Chris was an easier target, that's my theory. Now, if we reel back to the public sharing of Willow's letter to Tupac, it made people feel like Jada was super self-absorbed for exploiting her daughter for her own selfish reasons. One YouTuber even commented on a video regarding Jada's behavior with the following: this woman somehow thinks she's a higher power, just out there healing the world, while realistically destroying all those close to her like narcissists do. Big yikes. At number 3 we have Jada's infidelity. Of course, she was out of line by her entanglement with August Alsina, especially because he was her son's friend and most likely vulnerable at the time. Plus, her messy affair with the R&B singer was later revealed by Will to have occurred after he and Jada were already separate. Despite this, Jada admitted to this affair of cheating when she and Will were not together but still married. But how she went about it was weird given what Will confirmed. She first made claims that Will gave his blessing for their affair, but the internet did not agree. It wasn't until Will publicly stepped forward to admit that Jada wasn't the only one being unfaithful that social media decided to ease up, though not by much. Still, people think Will's admission was a way to save face, but also to touch back on the rumors surrounding him and his Focus co-star Margot Robbie engaging in an affair of their own. Will's admission that he didn't give Jada permission to date because they weren't even together means their words, stories, and sides just aren't adding up. Regardless, Will says nothing Jada will do can ever change things for them now that they're open, because these were the terms they came to from the jump. Will and Jada are no longer described as married, but as life partners instead. It's been detailed that Will may just be playing Jada's game because he doesn't want to lose her for good. At number 2 we have one of Hollywood's biggest drama queens. Well, maybe that's a bit of a stretch here, but Jada is known for being one for the dramatics, and that's been noted because of her household full of drama. However, it's also been detailed that both Will and Jada are equally responsible for the drama that occurs in their home. Still, with all of Jada's major backlash every time she speaks, and being labeled as messy and difficult due to her outing intimate details of her relationship to the public with no real remorse for Will's feelings, it's safe to say that the majority of the public is leaning on the side of Jada being the chaos enabler. At number 1 we have Jada's lack of boundaries. This one is a no-brainer, I'm sure, because we all know Jada has a tendency to air it all out, whether it's intentional or not. Jada has been described as someone who overshares too much to the public, and this severely impacts her family. She's not very private about anything, which shows there are no boundaries in her relationships overall. In particular, she has no respect for Will by exposing everything about their relationship, which is just tasteless. And before you say this is unfair, we literally know everything we do know about them now because of Jada. She was the one who admitted to infidelity, which really should have been something Will was warned about before it went public, since Will was clearly caught off guard by the news of August telling the world he gave them permission. She was also the one talking openly about her intimacy once while her mother was present. Jada also constantly speaks so horribly about her marriage in general, so I'm sure you get the point now.
Number 10. How they met. In an interview with Harper's Bazaar UK in 2019, Sophie spoke about their meeting, and she basically said they got set up. She explained that they had a lot of mutual friends, and they had been trying to introduce them for quite some time. Apparently they were following each other on Instagram, and he direct messaged her one fine day out of the blue. Soon after the meeting, he invited her to meet up with his tour that was passing through the UK. She said that the two of them had an instant connection, even though she hadn't expected to like him. She said he didn't bring security, he brought a friend, and they drank just as hard as the rest of us. I remember us two spending only a couple of minutes on the dance, and then we found a space in the far corner and we just talked. Sophie went on to say that they talked for hours and hours, but that she was never bored. She felt that the conversation wasn't contrived, it wasn't small talk. From her point of view, it was just easy. She said soon they were inseparable, and then she went on tour with him. So at that point it seemed like she had really fallen hard for this dude, and marriage came very quickly after that. Like very quickly, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Number 9. Age is but a number. Joe was 28 years old when he popped the question to his then 21-year-old girlfriend Sophie. A lot of people believe that age is just a number. Many didn't find this to be a big deal at first. An insider close to the couple revealed that they were madly in love, and while Sophie is a bit younger than he is, she grew up in a small English town, so it's not completely out of the ordinary for an age difference to be glossed over. Many fans also came to her defense, citing her mental maturity. While she may have been 21, she was forced to grow up very fast, and because of that, she was probably closer to like a 30-year-old mentally speaking. The red flag is that much like celebrities like Leonardo DiCaprio or Al Pacino, Joe tends to date people much younger than himself, like supermodel Gigi Hadid. His oldest girlfriend was Taylor Swift. She was a whole 4 months older than him. Wow, make way for grandma! Despite how uncomfortable many fans found the age gap to be, the couple did not not care, and really, that's what matters. Number 8. Flirty McGurty. When these two first got together, it was believed that Joe had all of the leverage. Why? Well, Sophie was into him for quite some time, but she was aware that at the time, Joe was not known for his commitment skills. When they first met, he was a player, and according to several women, he was seeing them simultaneously and without each other's knowledge. Joe's tone shifted though when he met Sophie. By December of 2016, he was becoming a one-woman kind of guy. According to Sophie, they were intoxicated with each other and they started dating exclusively. However, it appears that he was playing the field for so long that he's forgotten to turn off his game. Joe was still flirting with women at his shows, and while it may have been accidental, the fact that he's not aware of what he's doing was cause for concern. Not only has Joe flirted with other people in the past, but apparently his ex Sophie did as well, with one of Joe's close friends whose jaw literally dropped when he saw her in real life. Number 7. The private PDA? Despite crying out to the public to just leave them alone, Sophie and Joe were known for their aggressive PDA. Whether it's getting cozy at an awards show, or at a Kings of Leon's concert, or during a shopping trip. Page 6 reported that in May of 2017, the couple went into a dressing room together in a Soho boutique. According to the report, the couple entered the change room and a customer noticed both of them in bare feet below the door. Now, while it's super creepy that someone was just peeking under doors in Soho, it was clear that Sophie was trying on clothes for Joe in the privacy of their own little room. When they exited, they noticed the couple to be giggly and very touchy-feely. Now, while being close isn't a bad thing per se, these two have constantly asked the world to ignore them and stop focusing on their love lives. Well, hey man, then stop licking your wife in public. Number 6. In and out. Las Vegas weddings. Quick, easy, and everlasting. Joe and Sophie tied the knot in Las Vegas after publicly claiming several times that they were in no rush to get married. After telling the world they'd be taking time off for themselves following their engagement, it was not less than a month later that they tied the knot and attended the Billboard Music Awards right after getting their license, like on the exact same day. They went to a little wedding chapel in Las Vegas that's famous for its star weddings, like Britney Spears' marriage to her friend Jason Alexander for 2 days. Not to mention, the wedding featured some huge Vegas cliches. There was an Elvis impersonator literally officiating the thing. Many speculate that Joe was trying to prove something to his brothers by throwing the exact opposite of their weddings. Nick Jonas and Priyanka Chopra had an extravagant $1 million wedding spanning multiple days. The only people in attendance for Joe and Sophie were Joe's brothers, DJ Khaled and Diplo. They also didn't wear the traditional dress and suit, instead opting for slacks and jeans. To cap it all off, they used ring pops instead of real rings to seal the deal. Man, I feel like I'm describing a dream that I had. Number 5. Sophie was hesitant. Sophie Turner previously admitted to OK Australia in 2016 that she's never dated anyone who she didn't know before or who is in the industry. Her reasoning? Well, in addition to being more focused on her career than her love life at the time, she claimed that their lifestyles were a contributing factor. Joe and Sophie had different ideas of what was fun. She went on to say how on-set romances are amazing, but they tend to be very temporary when it comes to their time together, so that was a big fear for her. The logistics seemed to be her main concern as well. If she was filming in Australia and he was on tour in the States, how would that work? They'd never see each other. After getting together officially with Joe, Sophie did admit that she felt like she was in a fishbowl. Frustratingly for her, the smallest thing would be made into headline news. If she stubbed her toe on the sidewalk, it was in the front page. Her frustrations are legitimate, but why maintain this charade for so long if you're uncomfortable from the start? Number 4. Short and sweet. Before being engaged, the couple only dated for a very short time. Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner were first linked after attending a Halloween party together in 2016. The singer showed up dressed as a Dalmatian, while his love interest sported some pink sequins bunny ears, according to People magazine. Less than a week later, they were spotted looking very comfortable at the pre-MTV European Music Awards event in the Netherlands, where Kings of Leon's performed. Less than a year after getting together, Sophie was spotted with a ring on her finger and the engagement was confirmed. Many people get engaged early in their relationship, but as you've seen through this video, this was a case of rushing into things a little too quickly considering some of the other entries on this list. Number 3. She's messing with a gold digger. According to an inside source close to the couple, Joe was beyond excited when he started dating Sophie, and sounds like it's because of her money. According to the source, one of the main reasons that Joe is so smitten with his ex-man wife is because she is able to provide for herself and for him. Apparently, Sophie does not let Joe pay for most things, something the musician is not used to. When speaking about his wife in interviews, Joe kinda just backed up the whole gold digger theory, as the first and foremost thing that he mentions is how much he loves her independence. He literally said, "She buys me stuff all the time. I love it." While many praised Sophie for her efforts, many people started pointing out the red flag and expressing their discomfort knowing that Joe Jonas doesn't pay the bill when he's out with his lady. Maybe that's why they're getting divorced. Maybe she kept the tabs and the bill finally came due. Number 2. Different love languages. According to Sophie herself, she learned that a majority of what she knows about physical intimacy was from her time on the HBO series Game of Thrones. I'm not sure why this needs to be said, but I'm gonna say it. Don't treat Game of Thrones as something to learn from. Dragons aren't real. They're not real, Nate. Thanks to the show, it may have skewered her view on what proper intimacy looks like. Meanwhile, Joe just seems to love chit-chatting about his private parts. Seriously, like every chance this guy gets, it's genitalia. He boasted to Vulture in December of 2013 about removing his purity ring, which himself and his brothers Kevin and Nick rocked during their Disney days. In October of 2016, he then talked about the size of his little dinghy compared to that of his brothers, which is just too much information. Very uncomfortable. He goes on to recount the time that he lost his V card and about becoming a little bit too excited while filming music videos with Ashley Graham and Charlotte McKinney. Sophie has expressed her disappointment in this lack of restraint and has begged him to quit numerous times, but he persists and now they're divorced. And at number 1, Joe took off his wedding ring first. In the weeks leading up to this divorce announcement, Joe was photographed without his wedding ring quite a few times. One of those moments was as far back as August 11th, when he was picking up an iced coffee in New York City. But since then, he's made a point of wearing it again, even as the couple have officially filed for divorce. On Monday, Joe posted a black and white photo on Instagram that showed him looking at the camera and holding a cup with his wedding band prominently on full display. Then, just this morning, he posted a statement to Instagram claiming that it was from the two of them. It said, "After 4 wonderful years of marriage, we have mutually decided to amicably end our marriage. There are many speculative narratives as to why, but truly this is a united decision and we sincerely hope that everyone can respect our wishes for privacy for us and our children." This is quite a shock considering that the news only broke a few days ago. Sources spoke to TMZ and said that Joe had his people contact at least 2 divorce lawyers in LA, and the couple has had serious problems in their relationship for at least 6 months.
And number 10, we have trying to dress up. Recently, Justin Bieber was spotted on a tour while visiting Tokyo. However, the star looked different than what fans were used to seeing. In the pictures circulating on social media, the singer can be seen wearing a wig. With the accessory, he's also seen wearing sunglasses, jeans, and a light fur coat. Justin's level of disguise has definitely been causing a stir on the internet, with some fans even pointing out they wouldn't have even realized it was him if it wasn't pointed out. Other fans have even gone to say, "Oh, spare us, Justin, it's already starting to look like a pattern." And wow, he really doesn't want to be recognized, does he? And to add a cherry on top of Justin's odd behavior, one fan would even pick fun at the pop star by saying, "What a great idea to walk next to Hailey, just so no one would recognize her." Well, it's safe to say that Justin probably should work on upping his level of disguise, because this definitely did not work. And number 9, abandoning a monkey in a foreign country. After Justin's pet monkey, Mally, was seized by the German officials when the singer was trying to bring the animal into the country without permission during a stop on his Believe tour. It said that Justin didn't have some proper paperwork, so the authorities seized the monkey and quarantined it at the airport. However, the monkey would later become property of Germany, and Justin would later be sent a bill of $1,500 after he decided to abandon his monkey in the country. Mally is currently living with a group of other monkeys in a wildlife refugee in North Germany, and Bieber still owes Germany's Federal Agency of Nature Conservation $11,000 for vaccinations and rehoming fees, which is truly disappointing. This was your pet and you left him behind, you didn't even try to get him back. This was definitely a red flag, and it showed that the star isn't someone we thought he was, and we really should have noticed. And number 8, ordered his bodyguards to carry him. When visiting China, you have to visit the Great Wall. That's just a given. However, Justin Bieber's visit would definitely highlight one giant red flag that many of us missed. When visiting the wall, photos of Justin would soon circulate online showing Justin being hoisted on top of his bodyguard's shoulders. like they were his minions, and they even carried him up the Great Wall of China. Now, Justin was definitely able to walk up the wall himself, as just before his adventure, he was spotted skateboarding around town as two of his security guard members jogged behind him. It was definitely a diva-like move that none of us could get over, and it was a shame to see the star deprived himself of a chance to experience the experience and made his security team do the hard work for him. And number 7, banned for life from a skydiving facility. Las Vegas indoor skydiving confirmed back in 2013 that Justin Bieber would be banned for life after he used the facility and then backed out of a payment deal he arranged with the company. Justin and 6 of his entourage members would arrive to the facility just before it closed. When the pop star was approached about a payment method, he was apparently given the option of shelling out $1,600 for himself and his crew, or posting a shout out of the facility and a photo of himself mid-flight to his Instagram account. Justin at the time reportedly agreed to post a photo as payment, but the company never got their $1,600 worth of publicity, and they would say he actually faked like he was posting something. As per the agreement, it never actually happened. In addition to not paying, the group also didn't tip the staff, even after they stayed late to accommodate their needs. And number 6, ignored pilots. In 2014, CNN would report that Justin and his father allegedly refused a pilot's warning to stop smoking during a flight from Canada to New Jersey. Law enforcement officials would later give details that the flight crew on the charter jet told the federal officials after they ferried Justin and his entourage to New Jersey. The smoke was so strong in the cabin that the flight crew members even had to put on oxygen masks because they were concerned that they would inhale so much of it would cause their tests to say that they were positive for being under the influence. When the pilots asked the group to stop, Bieber and his father would begin to have some words with the crew, which would result in the pilots in attendance to close the cockpit to avoid contact with the group. When they landed, Justin would be granted re-entry into the United States after a search of the charter plane was done by federal officials. They did detect smoke smell, but they never found any signs of substances. And number 5, his dreadlock phase. Justin doesn't do too well with apologies. We all know that. When the singer debuted his dreadlocks, he sparked some major controversy as fans started to accuse the star of cultural appropriation and white privilege. With fans calling out Justin for not being himself, many stated that the star could have done better. One fan even chimed in by saying, "It's really disappointed to see you with dreads. I thought you educated yourself." The star then decided to stick with his dreadlocks and refused to respond to the backlash he was receiving by fans. Instead, he decided to share a statement about acknowledging insecurities by saying, "Aren't we all broken? We can hide behind superficial things, but the truth is, we're all hurting." So what's your opinion on celebrities trying to rock braids and dreadlocks? And let me know in the comments below. And number 4, he talked about becoming the next Michael Jackson. In an interview done back in 2012, Justin Bieber would make it clear that he wants to be nothing less than the next Michael Jackson, the new king of pop, after he would go on to say that, "That's where I want to be. I don't want to just be a heartthrob teen." Now, when someone starts saying that they want to be the next anyone, it should be a giant red flag, especially when they're trying to say they want to be the next Michael Jackson, because no one will ever be the next Michael Jackson. That's just a given. Bieber would go on to borrow machine-like dance moves, glitter gloves, and he even copied Michael's signature move in like a gentle way, I guess. This would definitely become a major red flag, and we were missing it because he was trying so hard to be someone he's not, rather than just being himself and allowing his fans to appreciate who he really is. And number 3, running around town in his undergarments. In 2020, Justin would be pictured running around downtown LA in his Calvin Klein briefs after shooting a music video all night. When photos started circulating online, it would show the star wearing nothing but briefs as he raised his arm above his head and smiled as he walked towards his trailer. And this wasn't the first time Justin's been spotted in public wearing nothing but his briefs, because back in 2018, it would seem like Justin forgot his bathing suit while on a trip to Miami after he was pictured out for a little dip wearing nothing but his white briefs. In the photos, Justin could be seen hanging out with his friends by the resort pool, wearing nothing but a wet pair of Calvin Klein boxer briefs before wrapping himself in a white towel before things became too revealing. Him and Haley would also be pictured later on in a hot tub as fans would call for the star to put on some clothes. And at number 2, we have meeting Stephen Harper in overalls. So back when Stephen Harper was still the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin had the chance to meet him back in 2012. However, his outfit choice was definitely interesting. When the singer stepped out in overalls to accept a Diamond Jubilee medal from Stephen Harper, he would go on to tweet, "I met the Prime Minister in overalls, LOL." Justin would later try to justify why he opted to wear overalls to such an event by saying, "It wasn't like I was going to his environment, we were at a hockey arena." And while he may have been at a hockey arena, he was receiving such a high-class award that it was only given to Canadians who earned achievements abroad, and he wore overalls to collect this achievement. Now, 50 years ago, if you pulled this move while going into work, they would have sent you home, so a lot of people were judging Bieber's decision to wear the overalls, and his excuse to trying to stay true to his fans and his own vibe, it was pretty weak. And at number 1 today, we have showing up late for shows. In 2013, Justin Bieber would be 2 hours late for a concert because he was playing video games and threw a tantrum. When Justin was set to perform at O2, he would end up being 2 hours late after throwing a massive tantrum and telling his staff that it was his gig and he would go out when he wanted to. After waking up late due to a night out, Justin would proceed to lock himself in a dressing room to play computer games. After, his actions would cause hundreds of teenage fans to be upset because they would have to leave to catch last trains before even getting the chance to see their idol perform. Justin would later come out to say he was only 40 minutes late and he said he had to come on late due to technical difficulties. He then highlighted that the event was great. However, one O2 worker would come out to say that wasn't the case and the star was actually backstage arguing with his management team. Justin's mentality about being a star that can do whatever he wanted that night was definitely a red flag that no one really noticed.
Kicking off our countdown at number 10 is Mariah Carey. The two ladies have had a friendship for many years, but there was a moment in their friendship where Ellen's humor proved to go too far. The big debate with comedians is, are their jokes funny or are they actually mean? Mariah believes that this one was a bit mean, but she did handle it well despite the fact. What happened was she went on Ellen's show to do an interview and Ellen brought up the rumors that were going around at the time that Mariah might be pregnant. Right away, Mariah says, "Let's not talk about that." But then Ellen takes out 2 glasses of champagne and tries to force her to drink it to prove that she's not pregnant. Mariah is hesitant, and it might be because she was in her early stages of pregnancy at the time, and oftentimes females don't want to reveal it because in the first trimester, miscarriages are common. Sadly, Mariah did have a miscarriage and revealed the news later down the road. I personally watched this video and I did not find it funny. I feel like forcing someone to drink alcohol to prove if they're pregnant or not, like, I get the joke, but probably not a good one, Ellen. Up next, number 9 is Dakota Johnson. Back in 2019, the actress sparked a fire on the internet after she went on the Ellen show for an interview. The two of them have had this ongoing debate on whether or not Ellen has been invited to Dakota's birthday parties. In 2018, Dakota admits that she didn't invite Ellen because she didn't know that she would want to be invited. So she invited Ellen in 2019, but Ellen didn't show up and gave no explanation. But when Dakota went on her show, Ellen called her out and said that she didn't invite her to her birthday party again. The tension was super awkward to watch, I'm not gonna lie. And Dakota says, "Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen. Ask everybody. Ask Jonathan, your producer." Ellen's producer live ends up confirming that she was invited and didn't go. You can tell that Dakota was not taking Ellen's this time and was making sure that everyone knew that she was invited. Not sure why Ellen was trying to make it look like she wasn't, but the whole thing was super, super awkward. Like, I wish they could have just removed that whole part from the interview. Swiping the number 8 spot is Mark Ruffalo. You're probably wondering what the hell kind of beef he has with Ellen. It all just seems very random, not gonna lie, and it kind of is. Remember when the world went into a frenzy because Ellen was sitting with George Bush at a Dallas Cowboys game? She received a ton of hate for it, but did a monologue on her show where she said that they are friends despite their different beliefs. Like she always does, she spoke about kindness and said that she chooses to be kind to everyone. But Mark didn't agree with that and let his feelings out in a tweet. He wrote, "Sorry, until George W. Bush is brought to justice for the crimes of the Iraq War, including American-led torture, Iraqi deaths and displacement, and the deep scars, emotional and otherwise, inflicted on our military that served his folly, we can't even begin to talk about kindness." Clearly, he does not agree with Ellen's decision on who she chooses to have in her friend circle. Rolling into number 7 is Kelly Ripa. She was one half of the morning show's favorite couples. Her and Michael Strahm were co-hosting Live with Kelly and Michael from 2012 to 2016. But then Michael suddenly announced that he was leaving the show to join ABC's Good Morning America, and his relationship with Kelly began to crumble. Most hosts decided to remain neutral on the conflict, but Ellen invited him on her show, which hurt Kelly's feelings. Source said that Kelly was livid and said, I quote, "Cozying up with Michael was like telling the world she had taken his side and she was taunting Kelly." People had different opinions on the situation though. Some believe that Ellen's decision wasn't intentional, while others thought that she knew what kind of outcome would come from it. Moving on to number 6 is Kathy Griffin. Alright, so they've had drama for a while now apparently. It's been an ongoing feud and it all comes down to whose side of the story you will believe. In 2016, she published a tell-all book called Kathy Griffin Celebrity Run-Ins, My A to Z Index. In the book, she dished out dirt on about more than 100 celebrities, and Ellen was one of them. She wrote, "I'm almost positive a certain beloved daytime talk show host once had me kicked out of a backstage dressing room at the Emmy Awards. I can't prove it, but this person, who has short blonde hair, has a mean streak that all of Hollywood knows about." But Ellen denies the story and says that Kathy is the mean one. Rumors were claiming that Ellen banned her from her show, but Ellen spoke about it during the interview and said, "I didn't ban her from the show, because first you have to be on the show to be banned." Shots fired. Ellen is sassy. Halfway into our list, number 5 is Caitlyn Jenner. Back in 2015, Caitlyn went on Ellen's show and made a shocking confession, or so it seemed. During her interview, Ellen asked her what her stance was on same-sex marriage, and she said that there was a time that she did not support it. Ellen fired back at her immediately and made it seem like she wasn't supportive of the LGBTQ community. And then, after the interview, Ellen took shots at Caitlyn while talking on the Howard Stern show. She said she was unfairly passing judgment about gay people and marriage. But it turns out that that wasn't the case, and Caitlyn was not happy that she was trying to paint her in that light. Caitlyn opened up about the full story and said that she had actually talked to Ellen on the phone prior to taping the interview and convinced her to discuss her shifting stance on marriage equality. But then Ellen kind of flipped the switch on her during the interview and made it sound like she was against it. That all does seem pretty sketchy. And at number 4 is Joan Rivers. The icon has passed away and is not able to speak on her side of the story anymore, but Kathy Griffin chose to tell it, which is also one of the reasons that her and Ellen still aren't very friendly with each other. Kathy opened up to Variety and said, "One of the things that really hurt Joan, and we talked about it at our last meal together, was that Ellen always shunned her and Ellen thought she was vulgar and not funny." Apparently, despite all of their drama, Kathy still reached out to Ellen to check if she was going to do a tribute for Joan after she died in 2014, but claims said that Ellen did not want to. Kathy finished her story by saying that she wished Ellen would have celebrated her more because she has such an incredible platform, and Joan was the one who broke the glass ceiling for women talk show hosts. So she should have gave like a really nice tribute to her, is what most people believe. Coming into number 3 is Nikki Tutorials. The YouTuber went on Ellen's show for an interview earlier this year and was quick to go on the internet and start sharing how bad her experience was. Like Ellen, Nikki's also a big influence in the LGBTQ community after coming out as transgender on her channel. Before her interview, she gushed online about how excited she was to go on the show because she was a big fan of hers. But after the airing, she said that Ellen didn't even say hi to her before going on stage and said that the whole experience just felt very cold and distant. She also admitted that she didn't even have a place to go to the bathroom, claiming that the closest bathroom to her was reserved for the Jonas Brothers and that she was not allowed to use it. I feel like that's kind of illegal. Where was she going to the bathroom then? Swiping the number 2 spot is Susan Sarandon. She too did not agree with Ellen's speech about being friends with George W. Bush. When Ellen spoke about the controversy on her show, she said, "I have friends who don't think the same things that I do. When I say be kind to one another, I don't mean only the people who think the same way you do. I mean be kind to everyone." Susan tweeted a response and posted a quote from Out magazine saying, "But missing the point entirely, DeGeneres framed the issues as simply a matter of her hanging out with someone with different opinions, not a man repeatedly accused of being a war criminal." Clearly, I just think that everyone's gonna have their own opinion on that situation. If Ellen can pick and choose if she's friends with George Bush or if she's not. Yeah, I feel like that everyone's gonna have a different opinion on that. And I'm gonna keep mine to myself. In the number 1 spot is Kevin T. Porter. You know things are bad when a comedian offers donations online in exchange for stories about Ellen being one of the meanest people alive. His words, not mine. That is right. Kevin tweeted out that he would donate to Los Angeles Regional Food Bank if people would share a story when Ellen was mean to them. He quickly got over 2,000 replies with people sharing stories of her being rude. He was wanting to show everyone that Ellen is not what she appears to be and thought if people could see all of these stories at once, it would help shed some light on that. He was exchanging $2 for every story, but then it got hard to tell which stories were real or not, so he just donated $600 and then attached the screenshot of his receipt. So he actually did donate the money. However, I feel like you are going above and beyond to try and expose someone for being mean. And isn't that kind of mean?
So starting off at number 10, we have Winona Ryder. Winona Ryder very famously dated Johnny Depp in 1989 to 1993, and they had a very public and somewhat messy relationship. But in the end, the two are very fond of each other, and they have such a good relationship that Winona made a point to defend Johnny when Amber was accusing him of horrible things. In a statement, Ryder said, quote, "I understand that it is very important that I speak from my own experience, as I obviously was not there during his marriage to Amber. But from my experience, which was so wildly different, I was absolutely shocked, confused, and upset when I heard the accusations against him. The idea that he is an incredibly violent person is the farthest thing from the Johnny I knew and loved. I cannot wrap my head around these accusations. I truly and honestly only know him as a really good man, an incredibly loving, extremely caring guy who is so very protective of me and the people that he loves, and I felt so very, very safe with him." And even though she made a point to not dismiss Amber's claims, she felt the need to let everyone know that Johnny was nothing but a perfect gentleman in their relationship. In at number 9, Vanessa Paradis. Vanessa Paradis was in a relationship with Depp from 1998 to 2012, and they shared 2 children together. She also made a point to defend Johnny and make it clear this picture Amber was painting of him was false, saying in her statement, quote, "I've known Johnny for more than 25 years and we raised our 2 children together. Through all these years, I've known Johnny to be a kind, attentive, generous, and non-violent person and father." And then referring to the new allegations, she added, quote, "This is nothing like the true Johnny I have known, and from my personal experience of many years, I can say he was never violent or to me." So yet again, another former partner who was brave enough to say the truth about Johnny, even though I'm sure at the time she got tons of hate for going against a fellow woman. And at number 8, Sia. Sia's statements in support of Johnny are the most recent on this list, but out of seemingly nowhere, the singer came out on Twitter to address her support for Depp. She started by tweeting out a video showing the leaked audio recordings of Amber Heard talking about how she had lost it on Johnny in the past. Then she made her support even clearer, tweeting out, quote, "Just showing my public support for Johnny Depp. I mean, I'd love him to get clean and stop with the jewelry, but he's clearly the victim after hearing those tapes." But Sia wasn't even done, and she finished off her support by calling out Amber Heard's former boyfriend, Elon Musk. Writing, quote, "Also at Elon Musk, didn't you give her the $7 million she donated from her settlement? She still came out $7 million richer. Why are you protecting her? She will never get the help she needs if we all stay silent." So clearly Sia is very opinionated on the matter and wants to see Amber Heard brought to justice. And really, you can't blame her at this point. In at number 7, Allison Paradis. The Paradis family is very clearly a big fan of Johnny Depp because Vanessa Paradis' sister Allison also made a point to defend Johnny. She showed her support in the form of an Instagram post. posting a picture of what looks to be the two of them together, then writing in the caption, quote, "You are and always will be family to me. You are one of the funniest and most loving people I know." And it's not always a given for your in-laws to like you, so the fact that they are going out of their way to defend Johnny like this is really huge in my eyes. And at number 6, Lily Rose Depp. And of course, his daughter Lily Rose Depp made a point to defend her father against the claims. She first posted a screenshot of an article from People, which showed that the LAPD had been to the couple's house after Amber called them, but they didn't find any proof that Depp had caused any harm, so no charges were pressed. With a statement reading in part, quote, "There was no evidence of any crime. A crime did not occur, so the officers left the scene and left a business card." Then she posted a photo of her and her dad back when she was just a baby, captioning the photo, quote, "My dad is the sweetest, most loving person I know. He's been nothing but a wonderful father to my little brother and I. And everyone who knows him would say the same." So here it is very clear that she supports her father and wants everyone to know that at that point there was no proof of anything other than what Amber had said happened. Halfway number 5, Laura Wasser. Laura Wasser is Johnny Depp's attorney, and of course it's her job to protect and defend Johnny, so she would make statements in support of him. But in one statement where she spoke of the case, she said that Heard was, quote, "attempting to secure a premature financial resolution by alleging abuse," adding, quote, "her current application for a temporary restraining order, along with her financial requests, appears to be in response to the negative media attention she received earlier this week after filing for divorce. Yet Johnny cannot protect himself or Amber from media scrutiny, and Amber's anger certainly cannot drive this dissolution proceeding." Continuing that Amber doesn't need any of Johnny's money because she's a successful actress and should have had plenty of money of her own. With Wasser adding that Heard took advantage of Depp at an emotional time, as his mother had only died 3 days before Heard filed for divorce. So here Wasser is trying to make it clear that Heard has bad intentions and not only wants to exploit Johnny for money, but wants control of her press narrative as well, which I think perfectly shows, the kind of person that Amber is. And at number 4, Paul Bettany. Paul Bettany is an actor who has worked alongside Johnny Depp in 3 movies in the past: Transcendence, The Tourist, and Mordecai. And because of all the times the two have worked together, Bettany figures he was a good person to be a character witness of Depp's. Bettany showed his support on Twitter, writing, quote, "Known Johnny Depp for years and through several relationships. He's the sweetest, kindest, gentlest man I've ever known." Just saying. With most of the replies under the tweet thanking him for speaking out and commenting that he was right now that the news came out that leaked audio recordings showed that Amber had hurt Johnny before. And at number 3, David Yates. Johnny Depp was announced as playing Grindelwald in the sequel film Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. And after the announcement, there were cries to exclude him from the film and recast, after reports surfaced of Amber Heard's accusations. But after much deliberation, the director David Yates and other studio executives made the decision to keep him in the film. And after some backlash, Yates himself came out with a statement on the matter. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Yates said, quote, "Amber's claims were one person who took a pop at him and claimed something. Whatever accusation was out there, it doesn't tally with the kind of human being I've been working with." So clearly here, Yates felt that the accusations were false from the get-go. And at number 2, J.K. Rowling. In the same context as Yates, J.K. Rowling also had to make a public statement after her and the other studio executives made the decision to keep him in the film. According to the statement, after claims were made about Depp, it was considered that the studio recast him. But Rowling implied that the fans might not know the full story on the matter, implying that Amber was hiding things. Saying in the statement, quote, "For me personally, the inability to speak openly to fans about this issue has been difficult, frustrating, and at times painful. However, the agreements that have been put in place to protect the privacy of 2 people, both of whom have expressed a desire to get on with their lives, must be respected. Based on our understanding of the circumstances, the filmmakers and I are not only comfortable sticking with our original casting, but are genuinely happy to have Johnny playing a major character in the movies." So clearly there, Rowling felt that she knew the truth and stuck to her guns. And finally, number 1, Laura Devenir. Laura Devenir is an interior decorator to many stars, so it's safe to say she's seen celebrities in their truest lights. And even though she's a former friend of Amber Heard's, she did the right thing and made a statement against her in court for the defense of Johnny. In it, Devenir claims that she didn't see Amber Heard's bruises after an alleged fight between her and Depp on May 21st of 2016. And even though Amber tried to release a recording making the statement look false, Johnny's lawyers included an email from after the recordings saying again that Devenir had never seen bruises on Amber's body. And although the timeline of events can be pretty confusing, since Devenir has continued stating that she never saw the bruises, this pokes more holes in Amber's story and clearly proves that she lied.
Starting off this countdown, we have the tabloids.
According to a number of big news tabloids, Millie Bobby Brown has actually changed a lot because of her success with Stranger Things. There's a side of her that we don't get to see, but they do when conducting interviews. One source revealed, and I quote, "Brown was cool, aloof, and downright rude during promotional events for season 3 of Stranger Things. So much so that her publicist had to give her a little lesson in how to deal with media and fans." Well then, that's pretty awkward. Coming in at number 9, we have David Harbour. The bond that Millie's character Eleven and David Harbour's character Jim Hopper have on screen is incredibly beautiful. They are very close and share a deep love for each other. It's safe to say that in the show, they both saved each other in different ways. But outside of the set, the relationship is different. They both still love and care for each other, but David is very concerned about Millie. He's afraid that the fame and public attention will get to her head. In a podcast, David said, and I quote, "I have a real worry. I worry about her and the fame and all that she has to struggle with." David revealed this around the same time that Millie was facing a number of scandals, which we will be talking about next. In our 8th spot, we have Hunter Echo. Now, this is one of the scandals that I was talking about, and it's probably her biggest one. In July of 2021, during a live stream, Hunter Echo drunkenly admitted that he groomed Millie and that he did acts with her. Millie was 16 at the time, Hunter was 20. The age of consent is 18, but Hunter argued that everything was consensual, and Millie's mom and dad knew everything. He even said that he lived in her house for 8 months. Still, the relationship was very inappropriate, and later, Millie's team said that they are taking action against Hunter and his claims as they were dishonest. Either way, Hunter had some nasty things to say about Millie. In the end, he got himself in big trouble instead of exposing Millie. In our 7th spot today, we have Drake. Now, this is another pretty weird controversy that Millie was involved in. It all started when it was revealed that Drake and her were pretty close and that they were frequently texting each other, which is weird because of their age difference. Like, Drake's in his 30s texting a teenager. And fans pointed out that Drake met one of his exes when she was a teenager and then later dated when she was of age. Anyways, according to Drake, Millie has a lot of boy trouble that he helps her with. Even Millie admitted in an interview that Drake helps her with her boy drama. When asked about what kind of boy drama, she said that it stays in the text messages. In our 6th spot, we have the stardom. Another tabloid revealed that Millie is having a hard time handling her stardom. They said, and I quote, "Millie has turned into a rude star and is unable to handle the stardom on her own." There are multiple videos of her interviews where people declare that Millie never leaves a chance to be in the spotlight and always interrupts her co-actors, which shows that she is being selfish and arrogant. End quote. Now, we will be talking about these interviews later on, but it is true. Whenever the Stranger Things cast does have an interview, Millie always takes the lead, preventing her co-stars to get a word in. And when they do talk, she often cuts them off and takes over the conversation, leaving them pretty annoyed. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with her behavior. According to some sources, Millie has already become a diva. Apparently, Millie's attitude was fine during Stranger Things season 1, but as soon as she got all the attention, her attitude changed. She started trying to behave more adult-like for the press, and a lot of people aren't here for it. In fact, she has been called cringy for it. It also makes it hard on set if she thinks she's top tier and the best. In fact, some people have labeled her as one of the most annoying actresses. Coming in at number 4, we have Jacob Sartorius. The two dated in 2017 for a few months. Millie said that when they broke up that it was mutual, but it seems like Jacob was pretty hurt over their breakup. In fact, he apparently wrote a number of songs about Millie, including the song "We're Not Friends," and the lyrics definitely call her out. Some lyrics go as so: "You're bad at seeing signals, girl. I've never introduced you to a single girl. And everything I do around you is on purpose, putting in the work for ya, hoping that it's working. I spent about a year just playing my part. I'm picking up the pieces to your broken heart." He also goes on to sing, "Girl, I want to give you more than good advice." Yikes. Jacob? Yikes. Who knew Jacob had it in him? Coming in at number 3, we have Sadie Sink. Now, according to Millie Bobby Brown, Sadie Sink is one of her closest friends. However, there have been a number of incidences between the two that make us think that Sadie isn't the fondest of Millie.
First off, let's take a look at this clip from an interview with the Stranger Things cast.
Because I mean, it was fun, but like, because Sadie got to see how like crazy I am when I'm 11. Like, I'm just like, you know, always really like deep in thought, and so like working together for the first time was like really fun.
I feel so sorry for her. Like, look at how walled up and awkward she gets when Millie cuts her off. And if you watch other interviews, she continually does this with Sadie, and Sadie's face says it all. In our second spot today, we have Caleb. Now, during the same interview, Caleb, who plays Lucas Sinclair on Stranger Things, I guess noticed that Sadie wasn't talking and kind of shied off. So he kind of called out Millie and asked Sadie if she wanted to say anything.
Sadie, do you want to talk?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Sadie, you guys set it off.
Had he not said anything, Millie would have just continued to talk the whole interview without letting Sadie get a word in. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Caleb Part 2. During the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards, Sadie, Caleb, and Millie went on stage to accept the award for Stranger Things. And well, take a look at how that went.
And obviously, you guys.
Millie literally couldn't wait her turn and prevented Caleb from saying anything. After which he kind of just gives a look like, really? Really, Millie? And it was captured all on live TV. Also, Millie doesn't even turn to apologize or anything. I don't even think she realized that he tripped in the back.
In at number 10, Madonna and Tupac. This relationship was super low-key, but it did happen, and two of the biggest musical legends dated back in their heyday. Madonna and Tupac dated for over a year until the late rapper ended things with a letter written from prison in 1995 that later went public when it went up for auction. In that letter, Tupac admitted he needed to break up with her because he felt by being with a white woman, he was letting down the black community. The letter ended up being sold for more than $170,000. The letter is dated January 15th of 1995 and is addressed to his ex, Madonna, or M as he would call her. In the letter, he wrote, quote, "For you to be seen with a black man wouldn't in any way jeopardize your career. But for me, at least in my previous perception, I felt due to my image, I would be letting down half of the people who made me what I thought I was." And number 9, Kaylee Cuoco and Johnny Galecki. These co-stars' characters were in a relationship during the hit show The Big Bang Theory. But a little known fact is that the actors dated in real life at the same time, but they kept it hidden for the sake of the show. Kyoko revealed that they were together for 2 years, from 2007 to 2009, in an interview with CBS Watch in 2010. She said, quote, "It was a wonderful relationship, but we never spoke a word about it and never went anywhere together. We were so protective of ourselves and the show and didn't want anything to ruin that." However, Cuoco revealed that the secret nature of their relationship is also the reason that it ended, because it took a toll on their bond. She added, quote, "Everyone was always asking and we denied, she revealed, and I'm like, why am I denying this person that I love?" In at number 8, Renee Zellweger and Bradley Cooper. Both of these celebrities have been in high-profile relationships in the past, but for some reason the relationship between them was kept a secret until their split. Back in 2009, they dated after filming Case 39 together. They never publicly confirmed their relationship, but we were all pretty sure it was happening because they were seen being snapped by paparazzi out and about. It ended up being a good thing that they didn't go public though, because not long after the pair announced that they split. In 2011, it was reported that the relationship ended, even though they never even confirmed it in the first place. In at number 7, Helen Mirren and Liam Neeson. This is another celebrity couple that is not only a bit shocking, but it was kept a secret while the pair were together. The pair first met while filming the movie Excalibur in the early 80s, and you may be surprised to hear that they spent almost 5 years together. Thankfully, the pair ended things amicably and have said only kind things about each other since the split. Mirren spoke about the relationship on the Grant Norton Show in 2018. She said, quote, "We didn't date. We lived together for 4 years. We were a serious item for a while. Lucky me." And at number 6, Cher and Tom Cruise. Another very shocking relationship was between Cher and Tom Cruise. The pair never admitted it while they were together, but Cher revealed the secret to the Daily Mail in 2018. The relationship happened back in the 80s after the pair reconnected at an event. Cher said, quote, "A bunch of people who were dyslexic were invited to the White House. Tom and I are both dyslexic. We didn't go out till way later, but there was definitely a connection there. Back in 1985, he was 23 and she was 38. The pair first met at Madonna and Sean Penn's wedding in Malibu, but it wasn't until their next meeting at the White House when they really connected. She later told Oprah Winfrey that they might have enjoyed a great big romance had their busy schedules not kept them apart." Halfway number 5, Sandra Bullock and Ryan Gosling. Before Ryan Gosling was with Eva Mendes, he and Sandra Bullock dated for over a year, if you can believe it. And the relationship was pretty secretive for two A-list stars. In 2002, the pair dated for a little over a year after filming by Numbers together. They never confirmed their relationship while it was happening, but in 2011 Gosling told The Times that Bullock was one of his quote greatest girlfriends ever. Bullock also sung his praises and said he helped her become a more laid-back person, she said in one interview. And at number 4, Jamie Foxx and Katie Holmes. After Katie Holmes' strained relationship with Tom Cruise ended, she got into a relationship with Jamie Foxx that wasn't made public until several years later. It's been reported that the couple first got together since at least 2013, but didn't go public until 2017 after being together for 4 years. Many fans felt the secrecy was not just planned by the couple, it was actually forced by Tom Cruise. After Tom and Katie's divorce, sources revealed that one stipulation of their divorce settlement was that Katie was not allowed to publicly date anyone for at least 5 years after. That rumor has never been proven, but since the announcement, Jamie and Katie had been happily showing off their PDA. Maybe that's because they were silenced for so long. The pair split in 2019, a source said, quote, Jamie was disappointed, though we understood she needed more of a commitment. And at number 3, Jennifer Grey and Matthew Broderick. These two starred as brother and sister in the hit movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off. They portrayed their hatred for each other so well, I was shocked to hear that the pair actually dated back in the day. The pair started dating after making the hit movie, but kept their relationship low-key because they thought people might think it was strange. However, their relationship came to public attention after the couple was involved in a fatal car crash while vacationing together in Ireland in 1987. Sadly, both passengers in the other car passed away as a result of the crash. Broderick was found to be at fault for the accident, and Grey suffered minor physical injuries. She later said she also struggled for years to recover emotionally from the incident. The trauma from that accident led to their split. And at number 2, Scarlett Johansson and Sean Penn. After Scarlett had a very public divorce from Ryan Reynolds, she decided to leave her relationships out of the spotlight for good. That's why her romance with Sean Penn was kept under wraps. Given how famous she is, it's hard to believe that she managed to keep an entire relationship with another A-list actor a secret. But she did just that when she dated Sean Penn in 2011. According to Johansson, they quote, spent time together for about 6 months. I guess that's her way of saying it was a pretty casual affair. She added in a 2012 interview with Vogue, quote, I never put a title on it really, but we were seeing each other. And even though it didn't last, the pair still remained friends. And finally, number 1, Cole Sprouse and Lily Reinhart. These two played love interests in the hit show Riverdale, and like we see often with celebrity relationships, this pair's acting led into real life, and we assume that they started dating. Although they never made it official, it was obvious to anyone who was paying attention. It's rumored that they started dating sometime in 2017. The pair got in tons of drama too, and apparently were very on and off. One time, Cole was even accused of cheating on Lily with model Kaya Gerber. Then in 2020, Cole officially announced their split on Instagram, writing in a long caption, quote, Lily and I initially separated in January of this year, deciding to more permanently split in March. And what an incredible experience I had. I'll always feel lucky and cherished that I had the chance to fall in love. I wish her nothing but the utmost love and happiness moving forward. All I'll say about it is anything else you hear doesn't matter. And at number 10, fake relationships. I think at this point it's clear that most Hollywood relationships are faked for PR. Occasionally these fake relationships actually turn into real love, but most of the time these fake couples split as soon as the movie comes out, making it painfully obvious. One of the most obvious cases of this was the on and off again relationship between Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart during the Twilight days. These two would always be in a relationship when their newest movies were dropping, but then a few weeks after the release, they would break up. Since they split almost immediately after the final Breaking Dawn movie was released, it's clear that it was all a lie. Also, the pair looked so uncomfortable when they were together, and now that we see what they look like in a happy relationship, it's clear that they weren't in one. And at number 9, paid paparazzi. If you've ever wondered why some celebrities look amazing in paparazzi photos while others don't, it's because a lot of celebrities hire their own paparazzi to make sure they never look bad in a photo. The most recent celebrity to get called out for using this tactic was Addison Rae. While Addison was out in New York, she happened to get a ton of great photos of herself out and about in the city, and Page Six called her out for tipping off the paparazzi about her location so she can get a ton of good pictures. Page Six called it, quote, a move straight out of the introductory course at the Kardashian Institute of Advanced Fame Grasp. Apparently Addison specifically wanted good photos of her outfits so that she could become known for her style. This move has long been used by the Kardashians back when they were up and coming, and now it seems that Addison is taking tips from her new friends. And at number 8, fake bodies. It's no secret that almost everyone in Hollywood has had some work done. Usually it's minor things like Botox and fillers to maintain youthfulness, but some celebrities went through major changes before making it big, and these cosmetic procedures were the reason that it all happened. Apparently it's an open secret that celebrities will change their bodies to adapt to the times to maintain marketability. But the worst part is that most celebrities don't own up to these big changes, so fans will think these people are effortlessly perfect, and it starts to impact the everyday person's self-esteem. One of the most common procedures seems to be a nose job, and most celebrities that are deemed au naturel have had it done. Blake Lively, Scarlett Johansson, and Jennifer Aniston are just some of the celebrities that fans are convinced had nose jobs, but they will never admit it to fans who think it's all elite genetics. And at number 7, award show corruption. Many fans assume that Oscars and Grammys are given to those who truly deserve it, but once you pull back the curtain, that's really not how it works. And an open secret is that anyone who wants to win one of these awards must campaign for it and basically bribe the judges. This can be in the form of actual money or things like vacations and expensive gifts. Back in 1981, actress Pia Zendora won the Best Newcomer award for her role in the movie Butterfly. It was a shock to everyone until it was exposed that her husband paid off the voting members to ensure that she won, and over time the practice did not get better. In 2011, publicist Michael Russell sued the Hollywood Foreign Press Association for firing him. He was trying to expose the corruption with the award show, and they didn't like that. The parties settled the dispute out of court. And at number 6, cheating. Movies often take months to film. That's long, grueling hours away from family and friends, stuck with the small same group of people. Because of how it all works, movie sets are breeding grounds for extramarital affairs, especially if you're spending a lot of time with your love interest in the movie that you're hugging and kissing all day on set. There are truly too many examples to name, but there's a solid chance that one of your favorite actors cheated on their spouse during the filming of a hit movie. The most famous are Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and Kristen Stewart and director Rupert Sanders during the filming of their project. And obviously, this happens a lot more than it's reported. Halfway number 5, fake names. The vast majority of Hollywood A-listers do not use their real names, instead they concocted a stage name. This is done for a variety of reasons. Sometimes just because their old name isn't as flashy, but other times the reasons are pretty dark. For some examples of celebrities with fake names, Martin Sheen's real name is Raymond Antonio Gerard Estevez, Jamie Foxx's name is Eric Marlon Bishop, and Marilyn Monroe's real name was Norma Jean Mortensen. Then other times a name change can be used to hide nepotism. Like for instance, Nicolas Cage's real name is Nicholas Coppola, and he's the nephew of Francis Ford Coppola, a famous Hollywood director. This familial connection landed Nick Cage his first role in the movie Peggy Sue Got Married. Other times a name change can be to hide racism. Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. actor Chloe Bennett, real name Chloe Wang, said, quote, "Hollywood is racist and wouldn't cast me with the last name that made them uncomfortable." And at number 4, stuntmen regularly lose their lives. Stuntmen are a very common thing on movie sets because A-list actors aren't able to do the stunts that we see in a lot of action movies. But fans might not know what a dangerous job that it is, and stuntmen regularly get critically injured or even lose their lives. And for how vital their role is to these movies, they are not paid fairly. The average stunt person pulls in about $250K a year, which sounds great, but is nothing compared to the about $20 million that the movie stars are making. Big name stars are obviously the ones that sell the tickets, but they're not the ones who put their lives on the line. During the filming of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, Daniel Radcliffe's stunt double David Holmes got hit by a staged explosion, and he was so seriously injured by the fragments that he suffered a neck break that left him fully paralyzed. Then on the set of Deadpool 2, a stuntman lost their life during a car crash scene. And at number 3, substance misuse. Following the release of the biopic Judy, we got to see the horrible practices the movie execs would use to get their talent to do what they wanted, specifically using illicit substances to wake the actors up and keep them on set working for very long hours. According to a 1982 New York Times article, use of these substances became so common that movie insurers would put clauses in their contracts to cut losses from these sorts of incidents, because several deaths and injuries on set stem from the use of these substances. In her 2013 memoir, Debbie Reynolds, the female lead for the 1952 musical Singing in the Rain, recalled that when her grueling schedule started to take a toll on her health, a studio executive told her to, quote, take vitamin shots from his doctor. Then Judy Garland revealed her mother would give her, quote, pep pills to ensure she had enough energy to film all day. Because of the toll these substances took on her health, Judy unfortunately passed away at the age of 47 because of an OD from these substances. And at number 2, inappropriate behavior runs rampant. So I'm gonna have to dance around the subject a bit for this one, but the things that have been exposed during the Me Too and Time's Up era are not new and have been happening for decades. Harvey Weinstein wasn't the first and only power player in Hollywood to use his power to get women to do what he wanted. And this all goes back to the the idea of the quote casting couch, where you are expected to do sexual favors to these executives in exchange for a role. And there are many examples of this behavior taking place in Hollywood. Even worse, this behavior can also happen against One study even found that 94% of women employed in the American film industry have experienced sexual harassment or worse. This is a staggering number that should make everyone push for change. And finally, at number 1, discrimination problem. The problem of diversity in Hollywood is something that's being brought up more and more over the years, and when we look at some of the stats, it's pretty wild. Only one woman has ever won the Oscar for Best Director, and that was Kathryn Bigelow for the 2008 movie The Hurt Locker. Also, only one African American has ever won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay in the history of the Academy. That was Jordan Peele in 2018 for Get Out. But the problem is not only in the cast and crew of the movies, it's the higher up of the business in general. A 2016 Washington Post investigation reported that 96% of Hollywood's decision makers were white and 87% of them were male. Clearly a large gap between those demographics and what we see in society today. A study of 100 movies released in 2016 also showed that about 70% of speaking roles in that year's top 100 films were white, leaving 30% to account for Black, Asian, and Hispanic people. Another shocking stat was that just 31% of speaking characters were female. And at number 10, mafia connections. Back when Hollywood first started, it was rumored that mobster Mickey Cohen ran the Hollywood underworld. Back in 1950, it was apparently a known thing that Cohen ran many organized crime units in LA. And over the years, it's been revealed that a lot of big old Hollywood stars had connections to the mafia. Even singer Wayne Newton had a connection to the mafia, and it almost ended up costing his life. Newton was apparently friendly with Guido Penosi, who was a member of the Gambino crime family, but Newton claimed he had no idea that he had mob ties. Then in 1980, there was a lot of scandal around Newton and the Aladdin Hotel that was co-owned with mafia members. Rumors swirled that Newton was talking to police behind their backs. Then Newton was put on a witness list to testify against the family, which got him a legitimate threat against his life from the mafia. Thank God he was able to survive the ordeal. And at number 9, ageism. Getting older is a fact of life, but in Hollywood they want to avoid it at all costs. And specifically for women, getting older means the end of your career. It's so bad that actors even try to hide their ages, so they can play younger roles. Actress Junie Hwang sued the website Internet Movie Database for revealing her true age to fans. Actress Jessica Lange has defied this ageism and has success in her 60s, but she admits it was more difficult as she got older. She said in one interview, quote, "Ageism is pervasive in this industry. It's not a level playing field. You don't often see women in their 60s playing romantic leads, yet you will see men in their 60s playing romantic leads with co-stars who are decades younger." And at number 8, fake fans. In the age of social media, followers are everything, and having tons of followers can mean the difference between getting the part or not. But sadly, a lot of these followers are not real, and it's been exposed that millions of social media followers are fake and are purchased to make it seem like the star is more popular. Some of the world's most popular celebrities are a part of this. Some of the worst offenders are Ariana Grande with 46% fake, Taylor Swift with also 46% fake, and Miley Cyrus with 45% fake. It's worth noting that the celebrity is not always responsible for the fake followers, but they usually are. And at number 7, all press is good press. We've all heard the famous saying, and it seems that celebrities don't care if they're getting good or bad press, they just want to be talked about. People might not know it's actually a PR strategy to get bad press. Sometimes the negativity helps to sell something, or it can take attention off something else. One example of this was back in 2014 when it was revealed that Kim and Kanye were going to be on the cover of Vogue. At the time, Kim was not a fashion icon, and people were outraged. Some readers even threatened to cancel their Vogue subscriptions, calling Kimye disgraceful and inappropriate for the iconic publication. Anna Wintour ended up going forward with the cover, and it was one of the most talked about issues of all time. We're not sure if it was all for press, but the negativity definitely helped to sell magazines. And at number 6, body issues. Looking perfect is something that all celebrities struggle with, but having the perfect figure is sadly something that the industry forces you to have to be successful. Many celebrities have come forward to share their stories of disordered eating, which was caused by Hollywood bigwigs saying that they weighed too much. Even agents and managers have told a star that they need to lose weight in order to be cast. Former child actor Raven Simone admitted on The View that she was told at age 7, while starring on The Cosby Show, that she couldn't eat certain things because she was getting too big. This experience caused her to have a lifelong struggle with food. Demi Lovato has also been open about their eating issues. Demi remembered that when they were only 3 years old, they hoped that their stomach was flat. People are now fighting back against these standards and advocating for more body positivity in Hollywood, but it's a long road ahead. Halfway number 5, Scientology. Scientology is a mysterious religion that happens to have a ton of A-list celebrity followers. It's been said that the founder of Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard, used celebrities because he knew that they would attract followers to this new religion. This is also the reason that the Church of Scientology has a huge luxurious building right on Hollywood Boulevard. In the 1950s, L. Ron Hubbard created the quote, Project Celebrity, a written program that offers rewards to Scientologists who bring in some of the biggest names in Hollywood. Today, some of Hollywood's biggest stars follow Scientology, including Tom Cruise, John Travolta, and Kirstie Alley. Apparently, these stars are rewarded with butler-esque employees to do anything and everything for them. Former high-ranking members spoke out against this, claiming that they saw Tom Cruise use underpaid Scientology workers for years. And at number 4, gender pay gap. Yet another example of Hollywood being harmful to women is the gender pay gap between men and women in movies. And unfortunately, this still exists to this day. This issue came to the forefront in 2013 when the movie American Hustle was released. The movie showcases huge movie stars, but unfortunately it was exposed that the female actors received less than their male counterparts. An email hack revealed that Jennifer Lawrence and Amy Adams received 2 points less on the revenue sharing agreement than their male co-stars Bradley Cooper and Christian Bale, despite the fact that both actresses are A-list actors. Around the same time, Meryl Streep, the actor with the most Oscars ever, came forward to say that even she was paid less than her male co-stars. House of Cards actress Robin Wright also said that she needed to be paid as much as Kevin Spacey or she would go public against Netflix. And at number 3, animal cruelty. When making a movie, it's imperative that nobody is hurt during the production. This includes animals, and it's common to read, quote, no animals were harmed during the making of while watching a movie. But according to many reports out of Hollywood, that's not always true, and animals are often harmed on movie sets. Some of the worst examples include the near-drowning death of a tiger during the filming of Life of Pi, the hitting of a dog on the set of 8 Below, and the dozens of dead fish and squid that washed up on the shore over 4 days during filming of the Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. The second season of the HBO series Luck was actually cancelled after 4 horses died during the production. Apparently they were overworked because the production wanted the horse racing to look as real as possible. The people on set also ignored warnings from humane animal monitors on the set, making it clear that they didn't care about the animals. Unfortunately, this loss of life had no repercussion. In at number 2, Hollywood fixers. It's long been rumored that bigwigs in Hollywood will hire fixers to do the dirty work for them. These are basically tough guys that will swoop in and do the dirty work that these powerful people can't get caught doing themselves. This idea was brought up again because of the series Ray Donovan. Back in the days of old Hollywood, where stars would sign their lives away to movie studios, it was common to have these fixers to deal with personal issues. It was rumored that these men would cover up pregnancies of their young stars, along with making accusations against powerful men go away. And these practices still happen today. A fixer named Anthony Pellicano was arrested after it was discovered that he sent threatening notes to celebrities along with a dead fish. Pellicano was allegedly employed by stars such as Michael Jackson, Chris Rock, Kevin Costner, and Steven Spielberg. And finally at number 1, the Illuminati. The Illuminati might be the most elusive group in Hollywood. Nobody is quite sure who they are, but everyone is pretty sure that some of the top celebrities in the world are a part of it. Most notably Beyonce, Jay-Z, Tom Hanks, and Lady Gaga. The subject of the Illuminati was brought to light again recently after David Dobrik did a podcast interview where he spoke about his experience with the Illuminati in Hollywood. He told the story to Zayn and Heath on their podcast, where David revealed that a girl that he knew was approached by the Illuminati, and she was told she needed to sacrifice someone to them if she wanted to get famous. Apparently, this girl called her mother, who was okay to be the one sacrificed, but the girl did not end up going through with it. Months later, David and this girl were at a Hollywood party with old Hollywood A-listers, and when the topic of the Illuminati came up, the girl told the group about how she was approached, and one of the A-listers told her not to get involved with them because the Illuminati ruined his best friend's life. Apparently, this A-lister's supposed best friend was Michael Jackson. And at number 10, Paris Hilton's boarding school. In 2020, Paris Hilton opened up about her traumatic childhood after keeping it a secret for most of her life. In her documentary, This Is Paris, Hilton alleged that she'd been subjected to toxic and harmful treatment while attending Provo Canyon School in Utah, which was a boarding school for troubled teens. Hilton revealed that while she was there, she would be isolated in solitary confinement for no reason and be forced to take pills that made her feel numb. Paris and her entire family kept this secret secret for her entire time that Paris was a socialite and an A-list star. Along with her difficult childhood, Paris also exposed that her voice was faked, and she made it sound higher to play into the dumb blonde stereotype. And at number 9, Joan Crawford. Back in old Hollywood, they didn't have the beauty products that we have today, and actors were forced to use alternative measures to look their best on camera. Actress Joan Crawford took this to the extreme and admitted to soaking her eyes in boric acid every week to make them, quote, sparkle on camera. She exposed this years later in her autobiography called My Way of Life. When talking about this beauty regimen, Crawford said once a week she'd steam her face, apply a mask, and soak her eyes in boric acid, casually instructing, quote, while the mask is working, place pads soaked in witch hazel and boric acid over your eyelids and put on your favorite music. Obviously, this was an extremely bad idea that could have made her go blind, but she risked it all just to look better. And at number 8, the black box. We are just now scratching the surface of the horrific things that child actors had to endure in the days of old Hollywood. Sadly, one of the punishments adults on set would use when a child actor misbehaved was putting them in a thing called a black box. This was a closed-in box where the actor was forced to sit on an actual block of ice as punishment. Shirley Temple spoke of this box in her autobiography and called it an exploitation of her childish innocence. In her book, she said that if any child on the set of Baby Burlesque misbehaved, they were locked in a windowless sound booth dubbed the punishment box, where they'd be forced to sit on a block of ice. Temple was sent to the box several times in her tenure as a child star. Temple added, quote, far as I can tell, the black box did no lasting damage on my psyche. Its lesson of life, however, was profound and unforgettable. Time is money. Wasted time means wasted money means trouble. And at number 7, Jackie Cooper. Stories like this are so horrible, I truly hope this is still not happening today. Actor Jackie Cooper shared a terrible memory of when he was working on set. While he was filming the movie Skippy, Cooper was not able to make himself cry. So the director, who happened to be his uncle, threatened to kill his dog if he didn't cry. Norman Turog, the uncle and director, left lasting trauma on Cooper. In his autobiography, Cooper said about the situation, quote, I began sobbing so hysterically that it was almost too much for the scene. Turog had to quiet me down by saying perhaps my dog had survived the shot, that if I hurried and calmed down a little and did the scene the way he wanted, we would go see if my dog was still alive. Cooper ended up earning the nomination for Best Actor in a Leading Role for his performance in 1931. He was just 9 years old, and he's still the youngest nominee ever for the award. And at number 6, morality clauses. Back in the day, the studios basically owned the actors that they signed, and they made them sign their life away. Once they became an actor for a major studio, the actor totally belonged to them and was not able to make major life decisions without consulting executives. Many of these clauses forced female actors to stay unmarried so they were more marketable to men. Others even forced women to terminate their pregnancies so they would not waste any time that could be spent filming. The studios claimed that these clauses were to, quote, prevent stars from destroying their value through scandal. Stars like Lana Turner, Judy Garland, and Jeanette MacDonald were all held to these clauses, and they would disguise the hospital visits and claim they were for ear infections or other minor treatments. Halfway number 5, closeted LGBT plus actors. To continue along the lines of morality clauses, another use of those clauses were to closet LGBT plus actors, even forcing some of them into sham marriages just to keep up appearances. This part of the clause revolved around not, quote, forfeiting the respect of the public. If the actor breached this part of the contract and had a relationship that was not approved, they would risk losing their entire salary for the role. Also, if the actor was outed, that would mean the end of their career either way. Gay actor Rock Hudson's struggle with his identity was revealed in the biography All That Heaven Allows. In that book, it was exposed that a magazine planned to out him back in the day. At that time, Hudson's agent was the only person who knew the truth and proposed that he get married to squash the story. Hudson immediately married Phyllis Gates, but they divorced a couple years later. The secret stayed with him until days before he passed away. And at number 4, Buddy Ebsen. Back in the days of old Hollywood, the makeup and prosthetics weren't what they are today, and oftentimes the costumes that the actors would wear would be toxic. One fact is that the Wicked Witch's green face in The Wizard of Oz was made with toxic paint. And Buddy Ebsen, who was supposed to play the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz, did not do so because he had an extreme reaction to the aluminum dust from the makeup. Because of this reaction, he was replaced in the movie with actor Jack Haley. Ebsen was ultimately hospitalized and forced out of Oz's production. For years after the movie, Ebsen claimed that the makeup caused permanent breathing problems for the rest of his life. And at number 3, Jack Nicholson's sister was his mother. This one isn't really related to Hollywood, more so a secret that a Hollywood actor kept for a number of years. Jack Nicholson kept a huge secret from the public almost his entire life, mostly because he didn't know the truth until he was an adult. His entire life, Jack was raised with a sister named June, who was 17 years older than him. But when his parents died, Jack's older sister revealed that Jack was actually her child and her parents raised him as their own to hide the stigma from a young pregnancy. And Jack's parents were actually his grandparents the whole time. And at number 2, Rihanna's father had a second life. Rihanna has spoken in the past about her tense relationship with her father. Throughout her life, he was addicted to alcohol and cheated on her mother essentially their whole marriage. But one day a horrible secret was revealed, and apparently the entire time he was married, Rihanna's father had a second family. He had 3 other children as well, 2 daughters and a son. At one point, Rihanna was even forced to sue her father because he was selling services involving her name and likeness, although she later dropped that suit. And finally, number 1, hidden children. Being a movie star means that you need to be perfect 24/7. That includes hiding pregnancies from the public or trying to make them go away. Celebrities like Kylie Jenner kept her pregnancy totally a secret until after the birth to ensure the media did not affect her. However, there are tons of celebrities who completely hid secret love children from the public. Aerosmith's frontman Steven Tyler had a secret child well in his heyday, so he and the mother decided to hide the paternity from the child. When Liv Tyler was 8, she found out the truth, and so did the media. Apparently, she was forced to put the pieces of the puzzle together herself when she could no longer ignore the resemblance she had to the singer and his other kids. Starting off at number 10, we have Travis Scott and Rihanna. Many people don't know about this couple because the time they spent together was kept very secret. Obviously, before Travis started dating Kylie Jenner. Although the pair were seen out a few times, neither party confirmed that they were actually seeing each other. The only confirmation we got that they actually dated was from inside sources. The relationship was first exposed on an episode of the Throwing Fits podcast. Then journalist Jonah Wiener shared more about the relationship with Complex. Wiener said, quote, "I broke the news about him and Rihanna, which they told me not to do. It's not because he's like, don't tell anyone I'm smashing Rihanna, it's because Rihanna's like, don't tell anyone I'm smashing Travis Scott, please." Adding, it's obviously embarrassing as hell. And if this is true that she was embarrassed of him, I respect Rihanna even more than I did before. And at number 9, Tom Ackerley and Margot Robbie. Since Margot Robbie is known for playing the love interest in most of her movies, it's a shock to learn that she's been married this whole time, but intentionally kept it a secret. Some speculate that her management has forced her to appear single so her married status would not affect her work. Robbie and Ackerley were roommates before they dated and eventually married in a surprise ceremony in 2016. And it's near impossible to find a photo of them together on her Instagram or on the red carpet. Usually Robbie attends red carpets alone. In April of 2019, Robbie posted a rare photo of the couple on vacay in Finland. And at number 8, Daniel Craig and Rachel Weisz. This high-powered couple is another that is incredibly secretive. According to Metro, the couple first met in college and were friends for years, but it wasn't until they starred in the 2011 movie Dream House together that they actually started dating. Not only has the relationship been a secret, but so has the marriage. Apparently, the two got married in 2011 in a secret ceremony that was attended by just 4 people. They have been quietly together ever since and even started a family together. They now share a child together that was born in 2018. The pair are so secret that they don't even attend a lot of public events together, but it works for them. Weisz told the New York Times, quote, "Daniel and I are really similar. We're just really crap at talking about our private lives." It seems that the pair also believe it's not a good idea to speak about their relationship to the public. And at number 7, Beyonce and Jay-Z. Beyonce and Jay-Z's relationship is happily out in the public now, although the details on what goes on behind closed doors is still very secretive. Although you might not know that the couple kept their relationship hidden during the first few years that they were together. According to People magazine, they initially started dating around 2000, but the media didn't learn about their romance until 2004 when they went to the MTV VMAs together. Even when they started appearing out in public together, their relationship was still private. The couple later got married during a secret ceremony in 2008 that nobody knew about for months. The only time we really see the couple together is during rare interviews or when either of them releases a documentary. And at number 6, Matthew Perry and Lizzie Kaplan. This couple kept their relationship so well hidden that nobody knew that they were even together until long after they split. That's even more impressive because they dated for a whopping 6 years. It was reported that after 6 years of being together, they split in 2012. They kept their breakup secret for over a year before it was even announced. Sources said after the split that the two did not agree on their long-term goals. Kaplan wanted to get married, but Perry was not interested. The source added, quote, "The last year that they were together, it was very up and down, a lot of back and forth. It was hard for them to let go, but ultimately Lizzie decided she wanted more." The source didn't know if Perry was against marriage altogether or if he just not wanted to get married to Lizzie. Halfway number 5, Shailene Woodley and Aaron Rodgers. This couple silently got together in 2020, and fans were shocked to learn about the unlikely couple. The pair was rumored together during the pandemic, but they kept it out of the public eye until February 2021 when Rodgers thanked his fiancée during a speech. While on stage at the NFL Honors Awards show, he said, quote, 2020 was definitely a crazy year filled with lots of change, growth, some amazing memorable moments. 180 straight days of having my nose hair scraped, playing for very little fans or no stands the entire season. I got engaged and I played some of the best football in my career. Weeks later, when Woodley went on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, she confirmed their engagement and showed off her engagement ring. Sources have revealed that the pair are not traditional and will be keeping it very under wraps. One source added, quote, "They have a very different non-traditional relationship. Shailene and Aaron are still together, it's not odd, and they don't post about each other on their birthdays in that sense, and are very private about things." In at number 4, Nicole Kidman and Lenny Kravitz. Nicole Kidman and Lenny Kravitz are most likely a couple the public would never think of, but these two did date, and even more shocking, they were so serious about the relationship they were even engaged at one point. They got together in the early 2000s and were photographed out and about, but never confirmed any details about their relationship. Until 2017, when Kidman revealed during an interview that they were engaged. When Kidman was speaking about her castmates on Big Little Lies, she said, quote, "Well, I knew Zoe because I was engaged to her father." She said of working with Zoe Kravitz. Quote, "It's all in the family. I love Lenny, he's a great guy." In at number 3, Aubrey Plaza and Michael Cera. Aubrey Plaza and Michael Cera dating is not a shock at all to me. They starred in a lot of comedies together and their personalities seem really similar. But what is shocking is that they kept their relationship totally secret while they were together. After filming Scott Pilgrim vs. the World together, Aubrey Plaza and Michael Cera started seeing each other officially. But they didn't tell the world until after they had broken up. In a 2016 episode of RuPaul's podcast, What's the Tea?, Plaza revealed that they dated for more than a year, saying, quote, "We love each other and we're just really good friends. He's just a weird little freak and we speak the same language." In at number 2, Cory Booker and Rosario Dawson. New Jersey Democratic Senator Cory Booker and actress Rosario Dawson started dating while Booker was campaigning for the presidency in 2019. The rumors that they were dating first started when they were seen out at a performance of Broadway's Dear Evan Hansen together. Then a few months later in March, Dawson confirmed the relationship to TMZ. She said, quote, "I'm just grateful to be with someone that I respect and love and admire so much." The pair are still very low-key and do not share details about their relationship, but Dawson has been spotted at a rally supporting Booker and has made a few appearances on her social media profiles, along with attending some of her movie premieres. And finally, at number 1, Zach Braff and Florence Pugh. This couple has kept their relationship pretty secret due to their controversial age gap. The couple, who share a 21-year age gap, met on the set of a 2019 short film that he directed called In the Time It Takes to Get There. They have never walked on a red carpet and are rarely seen on each other's Instagram. This is because the first time Braff appeared on Pugh's Instagram, the post was flooded with hate comments regarding their age gap. The comments were later deactivated on the April 2020 post, and Pugh later shared a video statement concerning the backlash. In the nearly 4-minute video, she shared that she was forced to turn off the comments on her post, showing Braff because 70% of the comments were hurling hate. She shared that she is a 24-year-old grown woman and she can make her own decisions about who she chooses to be with. She added that it is nobody's place to talk badly about a relationship that does not affect them. And if people cannot hold their tongues, they should just unfollow her.
Number 10. There are substances on set. Actors using substances on set is nothing new. A lot of people are pretty sure that Seth Rogen smokes his herbs and spices on set constantly, something he's admitted to doing before, but not as often as the internet makes it out to be. However, in the earlier days of Hollywood, substances were not only done on set, they were encouraged by the studios, who would regularly feed their actors their narcotic of choice on set. In fact, John Belushi from the Blues Brothers was such an avid consumer of no snow that the price of powder was built into the budget for the 1980 flick. No wonder he's in sunglasses all day. If he took them off, he'd look like he just got pepper sprayed or something. I don't know what happens when you do that stuff. I'm a good boy, I promise. Facts are that this still takes place to this day. Now, I have signed a few NDAs in my time as a locations PA, so I cannot specify who does what and where, but the amount of celebrities that surprisingly love that no snow is astonishing. No wonder so many people deliver great performances. It's because they amp themselves up in a bathroom for 5 minutes before every scene. Number 9. Jim Carrey's origins. A Canadian legend, Jim Carrey is considered one of the greatest modern comedians of all time. He famously released 3 films in the year 1995, Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, and Ace Ventura, all of which made millions at the box office and still hold up to this day, except for a couple scenes in Ace Ventura, but we won't get into that. As many know, comedians tend to have a pretty rough backstory, as the best comedy comes from a place of pain. Over the years, Jim has come clean about his strange but fun upbringing. His family struggled financially and he grew up watching his mother struggle with depression, which he claims to have been passed down to him. Despite his energy, he was a bit of a recluse growing up, and apparently he spent hours in his room making faces in the mirror instead of hanging out with his friends. After dropping out of high school to work a full-time job, Jim and his family were actually forced to live in a Volkswagen van together, becoming homeless for a short period of time. He went on to attempt a career in comedy, at first to minimal success, but of course he was able to find his footing and made his place in comedy history. Number 8. There are ties to the mafia. The film industry may be a multi-billion-dollar business, but where did they get that first bit of cash from to get where they are today? Well, apparently Hollywood has a dark history that's tied to organized crime families. The Trocadero, or the Troc, was a famous spot on the Sunset Strip back in the day, with many celebrities coming through the doors, along with studio heads and notorious mob leaders like Mickey Cohen, who was a regular at the establishment. He was a man who rubbed elbows with many of Hollywood's A-list. In fact, the film Texas Chainsaw Massacre, released in the 1970s, was released by Bryanston Pictures, a company heavily linked to several crime families. While the production studio ended up going bankrupt, Hollywood is still filled with many people doing secret deals. I bet all of the money in my savings account that they had something to do with this Barbenheimer nonsense. Now that's not a lot of money, but the mob runs the memes, confirmed. Number 7. Woody Harrelson's father. Woody is best known in Hollywood as the wildest wild child ever to exist. He eats raw meat, he's an eco-crusader, he's a protester against violence, and an advocate for the legalization of herbs and spices in the United States. He's loved on screen, but did you know that his father took people out for money? And I'm not talking about on dates. That's a different job. Charles Harrelson was sentenced to 2 lifetime sentences for the slaying of a federal judge in San Antonio. And prior to that charge, Charles had previously been acquitted for the slaying of Alan Berg, who was a carpet salesman. And he was convicted of the slaying of Sam DeGalia. He's not the greatest hitman of all time. His track record will prove that. The evidence shows that Charles is not the greatest hitman of all time. Woody doesn't speak much of his father these days, and opting instead to leave his family's trouble in the past. He does, however, say that the one piece of advice that his father ever gave him that he still uses to this day is always keep an open mind. Charles knew all about opening minds with bullets. Number 6, they have backups of A-listers. There have been many rumors over the years that Hollywood likes to clone their best and brightest on the off chance that they'll need them again following their ultimate demise. According to the internet, Paul Rudd actually got to star alongside his clone in the show Living with Yourself. Now, Paul has of course claimed that the performance was achieved with CGI and filming one character one day and another the next, but Paul Rudd is also 54 years old and looks like that, so something is not right about this. Now, there is a theory out there that the celebrity elites are made up of lizard people who take the form of actors and singers to influence us. And Paul is thought to be one of those lizard people. Now, I don't believe this theory, I'm just sharing something cool that I found on the internet. But it would be awesome if there were 2 Paul Rudds. In fact, that would be the most chill way to find out that cloned people exist. Just Paul being like, "Hi, I'm Paul," and "Hi, I'm also Paul. Everything's gonna be fine." Number 5, Mark Wahlberg should be in jail. Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch hit the rap scene in 1991, and despite sounding like the title of a cheesy kids show, the crew had a small following and garnered a bit of success. Enough for leading man Mark Wahlberg to be spotted and picked up by Hollywood to star in The Corruptor, a 1999 action flick that sees Mark play the leading man Danny Wallace, a police officer who attempts to stop substance trafficking and corruption by the Chinese triads. He's had a successful acting career that has recently been declining in quality, but he's still acting and he looks jacked at the age of 52, so please don't hurt me, Mark. Infinite was just hard to watch. Growing up in Boston, he was the youngest of 9 children and was relentlessly bullied by his fellow siblings. His parents divorced when he was very young, and he became addicted to no-no snow by the time he was in his mid-teens. He dropped out of high school and was eventually arrested when he was just 18 for attempting to slay 2 Vietnamese men. Apparently, he was walking home late one night under the influence of a hallucinogenic narcotic when he spotted the men. Close friends at the time have confirmed that Mark had a racial biased upbringing, which caused him to be instantly aggressive towards anyone who just wasn't white. He attempted to swing a large log at them, which did make contact and knocked one of the men unconscious. He was eventually released after serving only 45 days of his 2-year prison sentence, and he vowed to change his life. Now, so far, he's kept that promise, and I can personally confirm that he's very polite and patient, because he actually watched a movie at the theater I used to work at. He does travel with a crew of 5 people at all times surrounding him. It's a bit intimidating, just a little. Number 4, Margot Robbie may be crazy. Margot may be a perfect Barbie on screen, but apparently behind the scenes, she might be a psychopath. In a recent interview with BBC Radio 1, Margot reminisced about a little prank that she pulled on an old babysitter that involved kitchen cutters, which is the word I'm forced to use for the thing that you cut tomatoes with. Apparently, Margot had just gotten a new babysitter, a much older woman that just apparently wasn't as cool as Talia. So she hatched a plan of sweet, sweet revenge. After a particularly trying day where Margot refused to take a bath, she decided to kick the old lady out for good. She grabbed ketchup, her stabby jabby things, and laid face down on the kitchen tiles. You know, the old "I've been stabbed" routine. As you may expect, her babysitter walked in, took one look, screamed, and just ran out the door. Traumatized, the woman quit and Margot successfully got her old babysitter back. But that is messed up. That is so messed. And Margot was like young when she did this. Like, it's a very dark place for someone's mind to go so early on in their life. Has she secretly been a little bit crazy this whole time? It might explain why she was so good as Harley Quinn. Number 3, Tim Allen's hobbies. Tim Allen is the voice of Buzz Lightyear and the star of ABC's popular sitcom Home Improvement, which premiered in 1991. While he may have played a family man on TV, many fans may not know that Tim was a smuggler of no-no snow in the early 1970s. According to Tim, he got mixed up with some bad people back in the day while he was selling certain substances on the street for a few bucks. In 1978, Tim was arrested in Kalamazoo Battle Creek International Airport, what a name, and was caught with more than 650 grams, 1.4 pounds of no-no snow. Unfortunately for Tim, state legislators had just passed a law that tied a life sentence to any conviction of selling 650 grams or more. Like, as he was being arrested, there was a guy in a car with him like, "And if you have 650 grams, you're a goner." However, that sentence was never served, as it was revealed that Tim was set up by an undercover police officer who had been following him for months. Due to this and Tim's cooperation in providing the names of fellow dealers to the authorities, it led to him receiving a lighter conviction that allowed him to be sentenced in a federal court instead of a state, so being able to ignore that new policy entirely. His information led to 20 arrests and the sentencing of a major dealer. Can that be a movie, please? Number 2, CGI'd before they pass. Unfortunately, computers are not only making everyone's lives easier when it comes to looking cool on screen, but they're also being used in some of the creepiest ways ever. So, the first example of someone being CGI'd into a movie following their passing was Carrie Fisher. And I do mean first to have a speaking line and be a significant character. Rise of Skywalker did not heavily feature her, but the fact that they had that ready to go so fast after she passed, it was super unnerving. They pulled this with Stan Lee too in one of his last on-screen cameos, and Marvel was going to do this with Chadwick Boseman in the sequel to Black Panther, but the studio changed their minds last minute, and thank the good Lord. But not only is Hollywood prepared to CGI their people into movies, they seem to have inside knowledge of when it's gonna happen. With the new addition of AI into the world of film, we're close to Hollywood not even needing actors anymore and just asking the computer to make Tom Cruise do stunts. Deepfake technology is also getting better and better, making it extremely difficult to tell if a video is authentic or just some CGI shenanigans. Nope, still just me. Number 1, they're all broke. That's right, despite it being one of the most lucrative industries in the world, most of Hollywood's actors, writers, directors aren't as well off as we may think. Unless you've been living under a rock for the past month, most of Hollywood is closed right now as its staff are on strike. Some of the toppest of tier actors have joined their crew in solidarity, not stopping until Hollywood's producers and big budget studios start sharing the money that they make. Actor Sean Gunn gave an interview this last week where he mentions working on a show currently streaming on Netflix, a show that has made over $4 million in residuals, of which he's received basically nothing. This type of financial woe extends to a ton of people in Hollywood, and I just wanted to take this moment to wish luck to anyone out there on the picket lines. Hollywood, pay your people, and everyone holding a sign or waiting for the strike to end, get what you're worth and get back to making the world a better place.
And at number 10, Justin and Hailey Bieber. According to Justin, he and Hailey's marriage was entirely arranged, and even though it wasn't all that hush-hush, it was rather surprising for the husband of the pair to reveal that kind of tea. It came in the form of a joke many fans assumed was a cry for help during a March 2020 Ellen Friday interview. The singer took part in the sit-down with guest host Demi Lovato and addressed his personal realization of literally being set up with his now wife following her father, Stephen Baldwin, dragging Hailey to the Today Show in 2009. Upon explaining, Justin referenced their infamous first encounter at the morning show, detailing her dad dragged her out of bed in the morning and basically was like, you know, I think because she was raised Christian and I think they found out. I think it was an arranged marriage, I'm pretty sure. Looking back now, I'm like, it was definitely. Like, they set this whole thing up. He also mentioned that Hailey's Christianity played a big part in him meeting her family and getting the ball rolling. Quote, since she was raised Christian and she's like, oh, I want to introduce you to Justin and his mom, you know, they have similar values and believe the same thing. We think you guys would be good friends. Demi, who seemed intrigued by the breakdown Justin was serving, later joked, well, mom, dad, if you're listening, it's time because I'm 27. Arrange it up. Before we break down the rest of today's list, be sure to smash that subscribe button if you're keeping up with BTS's top 10 countdowns. In at number 9, Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth. Miley and Liam had a top secret island marriage back in 2018. Regarding the occasion, Miley uploaded a snap on Instagram of her and Liam embracing at their wedding, captioning the image of the now ex-spouses 10 years later. Because fans were in the dark about Miley and Liam's former nuptials ahead of the ceremony, there wasn't a lot of time in between to speculate what Miley would wear while walking down the aisle to give her hand to her then fiance. However, when the pictures dropped from the wedding event, it showed off Miley's appreciation for simple elegance, but also allowed her sexier, freer side she'd become known for to shine through. The Flowers singer-songwriter, her family, and her then husband all celebrated the occasion by posting snaps of the secret ceremony. Miley's gorgeous floor-length off-the-shoulder ivory Vivienne Westwood designed gown truly stole the show too. In at number 8, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. An OK exclusive report from 2012 unfolded the events of Blake and Ryan's bank heist-like wedding. The pair shocked the whole industry when their surprise South Californian wedding in September was hidden from the public eye. The couple ensured no one knew about their big special day, as Ryan stressed to their wedding planner how important it was for them to keep things quiet. At New York's Martha Stewart Wedding's bridal fashion week party, planner Tara Garrett informed OK about how exactly she made it work. Quote, they made me sign paperwork. I think it's funny because Ryan always said, just pretend we're going to be heisting a bank and that's how serious it is. I said, yes sir. Tara also slipped in a quick joke which quipped, now I think I'm a professional, I can rob a bank, don't you think? Even editorial director for Martha Stewart Weddings, Darcy Miller, further detailed, I told no one, I didn't even tell my husband, anyone. I called them by a fake name, I still today call them by a fake name. I was with them yesterday and they were laughing. I got so paranoid about saying their name. For them, they really just wanted to have an intimate wedding, and I think that for us, we wanted to try really hard to maintain that. In at number 7, Elliot Page and Emma Portner. When Elliot and Emma tied the knot, their wedding ceremony was so discreet that fans were unaware of the big occasion until it was discussed via Instagram. Umbrella Academy actor Elliot recalled the events on the photo sharing platform that Wednesday, tagging his wife in the new post with the caption, "Can't believe I get to call this extraordinary woman my wife." After the news broke wind, a representative of Elliot confirmed the joyous news to People. Back in December 2020, Elliot, who was formerly Ellen, came out as trans while announcing their use of he/they pronouns. For their images on Instagram, one featured a photo of their joint hands and wedding bands against a white background. Before their marriage, Elliot initially started posting photos with the Canadian star on social media over that summer. In at number 6, Ashley Tisdale and Christopher French. Fans of High School Musical were shocked when Ashley and her current husband Christopher held a secret wedding back in 2014. They shared their vows to devote their lives to one another in a private Santa Barbara estate, and as per Radar Online, all the guests went to a secret location and shuttled to the estate at the time. The hush ceremony also served as a High School Musical cast reunion iconically. The majority of Ashley's co-stars, who she bonded with in her younger years through the franchise, were present. Actress, singer, and female lead of their franchise, Vanessa Hudgens, even took on the role of Ashley's maid of honor. Staying in tune with the trend of private celebrity weddings in more modern days, this couple was able to maintain the privacy of their nuptials, which is entirely entirely how they had hoped for things to play out. According to a source, the event was very top secret. Ashley has been hyper-focused on keeping it a secret. She wanted it to be her day and didn't want it to be a circus. So when it came down to the arguably most important day of Ashley and Christopher's lives, the stars left no room for anything but maintaining their top priority, privacy. As per the same source, security was very tight. They took everyone's cell phones and electronics. In at number 5, Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher. Mila and Ashton even being in a relationship was a massive shock. So imagine fans' surprise when the still married couple first tied the knot. The spouses met and got well acquainted over the years from the time they've collectively starred in the hit series That 70s Show. However, they remained friendly up until 2012. It didn't take much longer for their engagement to follow in 2014 before they welcomed their first child, a baby girl, later that year. Then finally in 2015, the couple exchanged vows in a ranch on the outskirts of LA. And the craziest part? The guests weren't even aware of the location until a day prior. That's how tight-lipped the entire event was. The secret garden party was equally as private, with the festivities being held over the 4th of July weekend. According to a source who relayed information to People, the parents of two were already legally married, and the party merely served as a low-key gathering to ring in the joyous occasion with close friends and family. As they were surrounded by the most special people in their lives, the former 70s Show's co-stars discreetly did it big in Oak Glen, California, setting themselves up in a secluded area that sprawled across acres of botanical gardens, ponds, and apple orchards. The gated space served as a locked-off safety net for the couple, as according to its website, it only then recently opened up its available space for exclusive private events and weddings. Mila and Ashton stocked the Camp Cuckoo dubbed greenery with outdoor-themed activities, as a row of tents made home for a luxury campground for guests. In at number 4, Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet. Jason and Lisa were dating for over a decade before they made things official. Despite speculation that the now ex-couple was already married as of 2007, it took them until 2017 to become legally married. The intimate celebration occurred in their Topanga, Californian home and held a lavish list of celebrity guests, including former co-stars like Michael Fassbender and Alicia Vikander, as well as Zoe Kravitz. Their hushed wedding happened after 12 whole years together, and while finally saying I do, the two managed to hide the entire occasion. Surrounded by their most important family and friends, the couple's wedding was later reported by an insider. That source informed Us Weekly apparently they weren't officially married until then. Then, an additional insider reported to the same outlet that Lisa and Jason proceeded to purchase a marriage license that October, going on record for the LA County and County Clerk's office a single week before they tied the knot. After all that secret love, the pair called off their marriage in 2022, and no word has confirmed whether or not they have since remained divorced or remarried. In at number 3, Cardi B and Offset. Fans seemed elated when the rapper ended up proposing to his female rapping partner back in October 2017. However, the rather open-up artist revealed that she and Offset were already married a month before. Even more, the wedding remained so off the radar that Cardi didn't even bother wearing a dress or makeup, something she formally revealed in a lengthy tweet. Apparently, Cardi stepped forward to break the news after reports released suggestions that the couple, who was assumed to be merely engaged at the time, were actually spouses. Cardi set the record straight as she normally does and left fans in a bout of surprise over it. That October, concert goers were the first to see Offset drop on one knee and propose to the female rapper during a Philadelphia Power 99 Powerhouse show. However, as per reports and later confirmed by the stars, Cardi and Offset had already held a secret ceremony weeks before they put on a show for the audience. On September 20th. Once it was revealed, fans started piecing together how inseparable they seemed and how their joint interview and Rolling Stone cover made a lot more sense. More so, supporters wondered why the pair ever kept their marriage a secret in the first place. In at number 2, Jim Parsons and Todd Spiewak. 14 lengthy years finally bore witness to Big Bang Theory actor Jim tying the knot with his since husband Todd in 2017. The same-sex couple got married at New York City's Rainbow Room, and according to one of the guests, who is also a co-star of Jim's, Mayim Bialik, ceremony attendees were not allowed to use their cellular devices at the event. Posted on Instagram, Mayim captioned a cute snap of the newlyweds, "What a wedding, not a cell phone in sight. Everyone was so present," which sounds pretentious. "It was truly powerful for us all to just be there fully. Todd and at the real Jim Parsons, you are so loved. Also, hands down prettiest chupa ever, seriously." And at number 1, Jodie Foster and Alexandra Hedison. Jodie has maintained her incredible need for privacy throughout the entirety of her acclaimed career. Factually, her sexuality remained a massive secret up until she presumably came out in her 2013 Golden Globes acceptance speech. She and her then girlfriend, Alexandra, got married a mere year after seriously dating in 2014. Their private ceremony was held over a weekend, confirmed by Jodie's representative. Back in October 2013, the pair were only seeing one another with labels, but they managed to keep their lips sealed shut about the relationship in general until way later on. Still married to this day, Jodie and Alexandra made their first public appearance together that same October during a Beverly Hills Performing Arts Gala at the Wallace Annenberg Center.
Starting off our listing in the number 10 spot, we have Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth. When Miley released her new album, Endless Summer Vacation, some of her fans started to think that the album's lyrics contained cheating allegations against her ex-husband Liam Hemsworth. With both Liam and Miley first meeting in 2009 when they were both filming on the set of the last song, by December of 2018 they would finally tie the knot, and after being in an on and off again relationship for years, after they both split in 2019. When fans began listening to Miley Cyrus's new song Muddy Feet, they were quick to link the track's lyrics to Miley and Liam's relationship, in which Miley sings about smelling perfume that doesn't belong to her on her partner. When she sings, "And you smell like perfume I didn't purchase. Now I know why you've been closing the curtains. Get the F out of my house. I don't know who the hell you think you are messing with. Get the F out of my house with that stuff. Get the F out of my life with that." The pointed track would come just 2 months after Miley released her first single off the album called Flowers, which she also sparked buzz among fans, as it was a dig at Hemsworth and proved that Liam did in fact cheat on the singer with Jennifer Lawrence, and it also went on to highlight the couple's marriage and that it was everything but perfect, and she never was the bad guy like Liam's family painted her to be. Number 9. Kim Kardashian and Kanye West. If you think a lot has happened since season 2 of The Kardashians, Kim Kardashian agrees. As in the first trailer for The Kardashians season 3, the mom of 4 can be heard saying, "I don't even know where we left off." When the producer reminds her that last season the Skims founder was dating Pete Davidson, she would then say, "Things changed really quickly." The trailer then took a sad turn after Khloe Kardashian asked Kim if she's feeling okay about everything, and this is where we can see Kim Kardashian breaking down when she says, "No, I'm not okay, I'm having such a hard day today." Amid Kim's divorce from Kanye West, her mother Kris Jenner can even seen being telling her daughter, saying that she has the weight of the world on her shoulders. Later, Kim can even be seen talking about what Kanye had to say about their kids being on social media during their heated divorce, when she said it was the most insane narrative and she was trying just to stay silent through all of the lies for her kids' sake. With season 3 premiering on Hulu May 25th, we know there's about to be some more drama to come with Kim and Kanye's dark divorce, and you can expect us to keep you all up to date on it. Hey everyone, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you never have to miss out on what we might just cover next. And trust me, you definitely want to tune into the next video. Coming in at the number 8 spot, we have Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes. When Katie Holmes and Tom Cruise finally got divorced after being married for 5 years, fans would be shocked to learn that she made a decision to leave her ex-husband because she had reason to fear for her life and her daughter's life. With Tom being heavily involved in the controversial religion Scientology, he has been a well-devoted member of the church. With the Church of Scientology being known for treating defectors with intimidation and brainwashing techniques, when Katie finally realized what the church was doing to her and her daughter, she knew she had to get away. So in order to do so, she immediately went into hiding when the news of their split broke. Katie had to do so because she couldn't let anyone know, including Tom, where she was going, because she had to get out and stay safe. The matter would be resolved in 11 days and Katie would be granted physical custody of the couple's former daughter, and it would even be stated that Tom couldn't bring their daughter anywhere near the church, and Katie wouldn't be allowed to have any public relationships for 5 years as Tom was scared it would embarrass him. But it makes you wonder what the church did that scared Katie so much. Number 7. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. When Brad Pitt starred with Marion Cotillard in the drama Allied in 2016, rumors began circulating online, and in them they would claim that Brad was cheating on Angelina Jolie with his co-star. Of course, as many would remember in the past, the same rumor also plagued Brad when he was married to Jennifer Aniston, as when he was working on the set of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the tabloids kept claiming that he was cheating on Jennifer Aniston with Angelina Jolie. With the rumors reaching a fever pitch, this is when we would see Angelina Angelina Jolie filed for divorce from her ex-husband Brad Pitt on September 16, 2019. But the truth would become so much darker than that, with the story honestly being a speculation as it follows. It is also alleged that the couple's relationship would come to an end after Brad was under the influence on a private plane with his family, and during an argument with Angelina when his adopted son stepped in to defend his mother, Angelina Jolie would claim that Brad actually struck him. And just 5 days later, Angelina would then file for a divorce. But that's not all. The Los Angeles Department of Child and Family Services and the FBI would then be called in to investigate the matter. Pitt would ultimately be cleared, but a long custody battle would end with a heartbreaking ending while Brad and Angelina agreed to share custody of their 6 kids, and Brad and his son have now remained estranged. Number 6, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. During Johnny Depp's and Amber Heard's bitter court battles, things got a little heated for both the stars, and their darkest secrets would be revealed within their messy feud. Shortly after Amber filed for divorce in May of 2016, just 15 months after her marriage came to an end, Amber would accuse Depp of getting into a physical argument with her, and she went on to obtain a temporary restraining order against him. The actress also initially requested that she should be given spousal support from Johnny, but later withdrew her appeal. Johnny and his lawyers have since denied Amber's claims, even after the two finalized their divorce back in 2022. The duo would also enter into a highly publicized defamation trial where they would accuse each other of some pretty gruesome claims. However, at the end of the day, the jury ultimately ruled in favor of Depp and then ordered Amber to pay her ex-husband $15 million in damages after they found and proved she acted with malice to ruin Johnny's career. After the jury's findings, they also did determine that Depp's attorney did make one defamatory statement about Amber, and she would be awarded $2 million in compensation. But the whole trial didn't exactly paint Amber to be the person she was trying to make the world believe she was. Number 5, Kris Jenner and Robert Kardashian. Kris Jenner definitely proved she hasn't always chosen the right path when it comes to her love life. And in the wake of her separation from Caitlyn Jenner, Kris Jenner would state that the only regret she had in her life was the fact that she got divorced from her first husband, Robert Kardashian, back in 1991. Kris would then later talk about her marriage to Robert when she decided to publish a memoir. And in the memoir, she would reveal that her marriage only came crashing down after she decided to have an affair with her husband and their good family friend, Todd Waterman, while she was still married to Robert. Now, you would think that the affair would have been her biggest regret in life, but at the end of the day, she really just regrets that she wasn't able to end up with Robert before he passed away in 2003. Later, the star would also admit that if she didn't cheat, she would have never gotten with Caitlyn Jenner and gave birth to her 2 beautiful daughters, Kylie and Kendall. While she looked at it through that lens, she would then realize that she doesn't really have a lot of regrets when it comes to her life, except for cheating on her late ex-husband. Number 4, James Cameron and Linda Hamilton. James Cameron's ex-wife, Linda Hamilton, has always described James as being a man married to his job. That was until he was gone and got married to somebody else. While James Cameron's 1997 film Titanic sunk his own relationship, his 4th wife, Linda Hamilton, once came out to shade James from the Titanic film point of view when she said, "The Titanic was the mistress he left me for." The Terminator star then went on to describe every year she was married to the director as being one of the most terrible things to happen on almost every level. She also claimed that James was also consumed so much by his work almost every day with his cinematic Leviathan. In the 90s, during the couple's former divorce settlement, Linda would also be able to walk away with a $50 million settlement, and it would be described as being one of Hollywood's biggest divorce settlements that Hollywood has ever seen at this time. James then went on to get married quickly to his actual human mistress, who happened to be the Titanic actress Susie Amiz. Number 3, Alec Baldwin and Kate Basinger. After Alec Baldwin and his ex-wife Kim Basinger finally got divorced, their custody battle would go on over their daughter Ireland for years to come. Eventually, an infamous voicemail would then start to be leaked all over media sites after Alec could be seen calling his daughter, who was 11 years old at the time, a rude and thoughtless pig. While the voicemail definitely went on to paint a not so pleasing picture of Alec, it really started to show how he treated his family. By 2008, the former couple's divorce would then be filed with hundreds of legal documents, 91 court proceedings, and approximately $3 million in legal fees. And things will remain pretty heated between the two. But it wasn't really really shocking, as how could you say such hurtful things about your own child? But more than a decade later, in 2016, Kim would reveal that things between her and her ex finally cooled down as the pair noticed that they had to be better co-parents for their daughter, as their feud was affecting her negatively. But thank goodness they came to that thought. Number 2. Princess Diana and Prince Charles. Princess Diana's marriage to Prince Charles was extremely strained, and when the media began reporting about both of their infidelities, Queen Elizabeth once even had to write them a letter where she gave them one chilling demand. When the Queen urged both Diana and Charles to get a divorce, by August of 1996 her will would be done, as the young couple went their separate ways after a notorious stressful marriage. However, things would become even darker, as after Charles and Diana finally finalized their divorce, Diana would be stripped of her Royal Highness status, so the family could make a mockery out of her. This meant that she would have to curtsy to those who had it, including her own children. Later, Diana would pass away in a mysterious car crash after she started to leak royal secrets to the press. And since her passing has many conspiracy theories that all point fingers at the royal family, as they claim, but seriously, the fact she knew she was going to pass away in a car crash just weeks before it happened is a pretty unsettling thought. And coming in at number 1 today, we have Madonna and Guy Ritchie. Madonna and director Guy Ritchie had a pretty interesting 8-year marriage, to say at least. When the former couple's marriage came to an end in 2008, the Material Girl singer even had to pay Ritchie $92 million in a settlement, and their divorce is still highlighted to be one of the world's biggest divorce payouts to this day in Hollywood history. And if the couple's split couldn't get any more messier, this is when Madonna's lawyers also started to accuse Ritchie of being verbally incorrect, as he couldn't stop calling Madonna a granny. While Ritchie's lawyers have also gone on to accuse Madonna of being emotionally controlling, the world would soon come to know that it isn't really easy to date Madonna, as she rarely allowed her husband to eat meat, and she never let him host his friends at their home. With the two having such a complicated relationship, maybe it isn't exactly a tragedy that they both split up. Cheating is never right, no matter what the situation is, and if you're having doubts about your partner, have a conversation with them instead of hurting them.